Chapter 304. Clang. The sound of metal breaking could be heard as the countless chains binding the Chaos Imperial Star shattered without any hesitation. The dozens of chains binding the three general stars also shattered. The various sect masters coughed up mouthfuls of blood and collapsed onto the massive magic formation. The entire heavens and earth fell deathly silent, and a massive pair of blood-red eyes in the sky gave off a boundless heavenly might. It was the third eye. It turned its terrifying gaze towards everyone who had participated in the sealing. Boom! A world-shaking explosion sounded out as countless sect masters, legatees, and ancient clans from the 9 great kingdoms were grabbed into the air by a formless energy that descended from the heavens. This terrifying energy could easily crush anyone's body. Sect Master, Your Majesty, Elders, outside the Grand Formation, countless people were shocked, looking at the powerless figures of the various major powers being caught in the air by the formless energy. Countless people tried to help. However, all of them were sent flying back by the formless energy, and if they didn't die, they were either heavily injured or killed. Countless people felt their souls tremble as an aura of death covered their bodies. It was as if they had fallen into boundless darkness, and their souls trembled. In front of this pair of blood-red eyes, they were as weak as ants. Am I going to die? Countless people thought to themselves as their bodies trembled in front of this heaven-descending energy. They felt as if they would explode at any moment. The pair of blood-red eyes in the sky indeed had the same thoughts. The massive power descended and clenched, causing countless people to feel as if their bodies were being forcefully gripped by a large hand. Their bodies were squeezed as if they were about to explode, and their bodies instinctively trembled. Suddenly, this energy disappeared, and countless people fell from the sky to the ground, their bodies drenched as if they had been fished out of water. All of this happened too quickly, and before anyone could react, the pair of blood-red eyes in the sky slowly disappeared, and the Chaos Imperial Star and 3 general stars also disappeared. All of the abnormal signs disappeared, and the heavens and earth returned to normal. At this moment, everyone finally heaved a sigh of relief. That pair of blood-red eyes was too terrifying. Everyone felt as if their bodies were being crushed by a huge rock. They didn't have the slightest bit of strength to resist, and they didn't even dare to make sound. Sect Leader, Your Highness, Clan Elder. The others also went forward and helped the important figures of their respective clans up. Fortunately, the pair of blood-red eyes did not kill the sect leaders. The disciples all heaved a sigh of relief. The abnormal signs in the real world disappeared, and the Ying family's Qiu Fengzi looked at the Chaos Imperial Star in the sky and let out a sigh of relief. In the underground space, Zhao Fu was lying naked on the altar like a corpse. Suddenly, his heart started beating, and his body regained its vitality. Zhao Fu slowly opened his blood-red eyes. At the entrance of the passageway, Bai Qi and the others felt that the matter was over and entered the underground space. By now, Zhao Fu had changed into a set of white clothes, and his black hair reached his waist. He had a cold expression, a pair of devilish blood-red eyes, and a dignified aura. Zhao Fu looked like a completely different person. Bai Qi and the others didn't dare to look at Zhao Fu, and they could only lower their heads and cup their fists as they nervously called out, "Your Majesty." Seeing them arrive, Zhao Fu retracted his aura and smiled as he said, "All right, you can all go back now. All of you can go back now. It's all over." When everyone saw that the gentle Zhao Fu had returned, they all relaxed. They had been quite wary of Zhao Fu fusing with his divinity. After all, that was a demon god, one filled with bloodthirst and cruelty. If Zhao Fu fused with his divinity, he would definitely be affected, and they were afraid that Zhao Fu would become a tyrant. It seemed that they had been worrying too much, and everyone smiled as they followed behind Zhao Fu. Slaughtering Ghost and Sky Demon turned back into 2 swords and tied them to Zhao Fu's waist. After returning to the surface, Zhao Fu looked around at the aftermath of the disaster and bitterly laughed. He had everyone prepared to rebuild the place. Zhao Fu returned to his room and looked at the system announcements in his mind. When Zhao Fu opened his eyes, there were countless system announcements in his mind. System announcement: your body has fused with the divinity, and the divinity is currently rebuilding your body. This process will be extremely difficult. System announcement: the demon god's divinity has brought with it an evil and murderous darkness that has caused your imperial star to change. System announcement: the chaos demon star has sensed your aura and is willing to descend as your fate star. System announcement: the Myrtle Imperial Star and the Chaos Demon Star have begun to fuse, and the fusion will cause abnormal changes. System announcement: your Chaos Imperial Star has been sealed, and this is a heaven-defying change of fate. The Heavenly Tao has begun to devour you, and the Heavenly Tao's power has strengthened your will. Zhao Fu couldn't even count all of the system announcements, so he could only look through them one by one. Zhao Fu was quite shocked by the Chaos Demon Star because he knew that it was the most ominous star in the world. He had never thought that it would be willing to become his fate star. The Myrtle Imperial Star was a fate star, and it was a star that contained a large amount of fate. However, it was a star that determined one's fate, and obtaining the Myrtle Imperial Star would give one the son of heaven's fate. However, fate stars were different. They were not affected by anything and were tightly fused with one's fate. Compared to fate stars were much more independent. Now, the Myrtle Imperial Star and the Chaos Demon Star had fused to form the Chaos Imperial Star. Afterwards, Zhao Fu found out about the Chaos Imperial Star being sealed. The pain of rebuilding his body had almost caused his will to collapse, so how could he care about anything else? Only after his body had been completely rebuilt and his soul had sunk into darkness did he feel the seals on his body. Zhao Fu had been quite furious about this, but they had forcefully gone against the heavens. In the end, his will had been strengthened by heavenly energy and descended into the world. Those blood-red eyes were not heavenly energy, but Zhao Fu's eyes. Countless people had sensed them, and back then, heavenly energy had given Zhao Fu 3 chances to act. Zhao Fu had broken through the suppression of the 9-nation armaments and destroyed countless sealing chains. In the end, Zhao Fu had wanted to kill all of those people. However, in the end, Zhao Fu hadn't done anything. One reason was that Zhao Fu had felt quite guilty after seeing the disaster that the Chaos Imperial Star had caused. The other reason was that he was unable to truly kill them because they all had a large amount of fate, so heavenly energy would not allow him to do so. At most, he would only be able to kill them in the Heaven Awakened world and would not be able to harm them in the real world. Moreover, they were the main force in the world, and they had the 9 great ancient kingdoms. As such, Zhao Fu gave up on killing them. Chapter 305. After looking through the system announcements, Zhao Fu looked at the rest of the system announcements. System announcement: congratulations, your body has been reshaped. Your stats have greatly changed. System announcement: you have unlocked grade. System announcement: you have unlocked the God Killer profession. System announcement: you have unlocked divine sense. System announcement: Qingtown has received a large amount of fate and has leveled up into an epic grade village. After looking at these system announcements, Zhao Fu immediately looked at his stats. Indeed, there had been great changes, and his stats had once again been greatly strengthened. With his current strength, he could now fight to a draw with a Stage 4 City Lord. Of course, that was only if the other party didn't use their City Lord seals. Moreover, Zhao Fu found that there was an additional grade on his stats page. It wasn't F grade or S grade, but high-grade Earth grade. This made Zhao Fu feel quite strange. Wasn't grade F to SSS grade? What did this high-grade Earth grade mean? Could it be because players were special? Zhao Fu looked at the system announcements and found that grade wasn't just from F to SSS. Above SSS grade were human grade, Earth grade, and heaven grade. Each grade was split into low grade, medium grade, high grade, and extreme grade. Apart from heaven, Earth, and human grades, there was also grade. However, Zhao Fu didn't know about this because there wasn't a detailed introduction. Most people probably didn't know about this and thought that it was only from F to SSS grade. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Fu had unlocked Earth grade, he might have been kept in the dark. The effects of divinity were quite powerful, raising his grade to Earth grade. Even though it hadn't been shown before, Zhao Fu felt that it would at most be S grade. This was because even though Zhao Fu and Bai Qi had spent the same amount of time cultivating, Zhao Fu's speed was far inferior to Bai Qi's. Bai Qi's cultivation was already at stage 1 to 9, while Zhao Fu had only reached stage 1 to 6 after eating 2 blood god pills. Now that he had Earth grade, he would be able to leave Bai Qi in the dust. When he thought about that, Zhao Fu smiled. Zhao Fu looked at the next system announcement. Looking at the God Killer profession, Zhao Fu's eyes lit up. Just from the words God Killer alone, Zhao Fu couldn't look down on it, so he immediately looked at it. He found that the God Killer profession was the same as the King profession, and it was a profession with growth potential. In the early stages, there were no skills or stats. The God Killer profession's power was called God Killer power, and it was called God Slayer's power. At the same time, this profession would produce the God Slayer bloodline. This bloodline also had a type of inheritance, meaning that the descendants would also have the God Slayer bloodline flowing in their bodies. The King profession was just as rare as the God Killer profession. The King profession could only be unlocked by establishing a kingdom, and Zhao Fu had only unlocked the King profession because he had Great Qin's legacy and the Ancient King's power. The God Killer profession required one to kill a god in order to unlock it. Right now, Zhao Fu had used the Heaven and Earth refining formation to steal a trace of God Ker's divinity and fuse with it to unlock this profession. Regardless of whether it was establishing a nation or slaying a god, these were not things that could be done easily. They were definitely incomparably difficult and almost impossible. As such, the royal bloodline and the God Killer bloodline were both very high-grade bloodlines. Because of Zhao Fu's body being reconstructed, these two bloodlines had perfectly fused together, becoming an unknown bloodline. Zhao Fu temporarily called it the God Killer Royal Bloodline. The God Slayer Royal Bloodline was now level 11. Previously, Zhao Fu's Royal Bloodline had been level 10, but now his Royal Bloodline had risen by more than 2 stages. After looking at the God Slayer profession, Zhao Fu looked at the next system announcement, Divinity. What is this? Feeling quite curious, Zhao Fu started to look at the description of Divinity. He found that it was a special stat, one of the 5 celestial senses. Anyone who unlocked these 5 senses would be able to enter the celestial mode. Zhao Fu did not know about this celestial mode, but he felt that it was most likely very powerful. After all, the description said that it was impervious to all evils and that gods and demons would avoid it. Since he did not know about the other 4 senses, he decided to talk about divinity first. Divinity referred to a person's spirit and will, and could also be said to be the strength of one's soul. There were 2 ways to unlock divinity. The first was to cause one's soul to be greatly damaged, causing it to become more powerful. The second was to comprehend a certain domain, causing one's soul to evolve. Zhao Fu most likely belonged to the first type. Facing the pain of his body being reconstructed, Zhao Fu's body was still trembling. Unlocking divinity greatly increased one's immunity to illusions and mental attacks, as well as all sorts of damage to the soul. At the same time, it greatly increased the power of illusions and mental attacks, and it was one of the more useful stats. Now that divinity had been unlocked, there were still 4 other senses left. Zhao Fu was quite interested in the celestial mode and wondered what the other 4 senses were. The final system announcement was that Qin Town had leveled up into an epic grade village. Zhao Fu had not expected this at all. He had thought that he would have to destroy 10 or so nation legatees to level up, and he had never thought that it would level up so quickly. The reason for this was because everything from a single person to an entire country had their own fate. If Zhao Fu used up his fate to take down a system main city, his fate would increase by a lot. Similarly, Zhao Fu had defeated the powerful godly spirit clone and refined it. It had fused a Myrtle Imperial Star and Chaos Demon Star, causing Qin Town to obtain countless amounts of fate. This also caused the 12 metal colossi and imperial ruler's seal to become more powerful. Now, the 12 metal colossi were level 3 nation armaments, and the imperial ruler's seal was a level 2 clan armament. Comparatively speaking, leveling up a clan armament was much more difficult than leveling up a nation armament. Not only did it require a large amount of fate, but it also required changing the Chinese clan. Following this, Zhao Fu went to the city hall. By now, the Rubik's Cube floating in the air was giving off an orange light, and its aura was even more powerful. Zhao Fu looked at it and found that Qin Town had become an epic grade village. Village name, Qin Town, epic, level, advanced village area. 500 square kilometers village territory. 12,180 square kilometers popular support. 85 special stats. Territory crop output plus 110%. Territory crop growth time minus 110%. Population limit plus 80%. Resident stats plus 7. Soldiers stats plus 8%. Population attraction plus 100%. High-grade attraction plus 100%. Subsidiary village limit. 600 subsidiary villages. Logue Village, Jean Village, Doran Village, Lee Family Village, Wolf Village, Ferocious Tiger Village. Chapter 306. Qin Zhen's epic grade stats were more than double that of the legendary grade, and the Heaven Prayer platform stats had also become stronger. Apart from that, there were no other changes. Zhao Fu once again returned to his room and started to sort through the large amount of information he had obtained from God Kerr. After fusing with the divinity, Zhao Fu had not only obtained many of God Kerr's skills, but he had also obtained a large amount of information. This information was incredibly vast, and it contained all sorts of information. This wasn't too surprising, as God Kerr was a godly spirit that reigned above all creatures. How could it not know much? Within this information, Zhao Fu found information about the Heaven Domain boundary and the Legacy Land. Zhao Fu paid a lot of attention to these two pieces of information, and after looking through them, a look of shock appeared on his face. He had never thought that things would be like this. It seemed that he had underestimated the Heaven Awakened world. This world wasn't. Now, this secret was forbidden by the system. No wonder those Yin soldiers could not say it, so that was how it was. In that moment, Zhao Fu understood everything. This secret was incredibly important, and it could even affect Qin Zhen's survival in the future. Zhao Fu started to think about it seriously. Now that he knew this secret, Qin Zhen's future strategy would be greatly changed. In the following period of time, Zhao Fu continued to sort through the ocean of information he had obtained from God Kerr. After the sect leaders returned from the Heaven Awakened world, their gazes were dim and dispirited. The legatees of China's 4 other legatees also sighed and ordered people to prepare a large gift to send to the Ying family. They had completely lost this time, and in the end, Zhao Fu had not killed them. This was already giving them enough face, so they had to do something. Firstly, it was a matter of face and bearing. If they didn't do anything, there would definitely be people who would say, "Look, you want to seal others and ruin their plans, but in the end, they spared you, yet you didn't say anything." What a joke. Great Qin's legatee is the one with the right attitude. The second was the issue of strength. With Great Qin's current strength, it could be said that it was monstrous. Even though they would fight in the dark, they had to pretend that they were on good terms. They wouldn't offend a powerful opponent like Great Qin for no reason. Because of these two reasons, most people sent gifts to the Ying family to express their goodwill. This was mainly for Great Qin's legatee to see, as they didn't know where he was. As such, they could only do this. The Ying family's higher-ups all grinned. They knew why so many top-tier factions wanted to express their goodwill. They knew that many people feared Legatee Qin, but they were incredibly happy. Legatee Qin was a member of the Ying family. They held a large banquet, and the Ying family was incredibly lively. Ying was in a good mood as well. He had basked in Great Qin's legatee's glory, and countless small families and upper-class people continuously tried to curry favor with him. Now, his life was hundreds of times better than before. No matter where he went, people would respectfully call him Your Majesty, and people would do all they could to curry favor with him. He didn't lack money, and he didn't lack beautiful women either. He couldn't sleep with any of the women who wanted to curry favor with him. However, Qin didn't forget that he was a fake, so he continuously expanded his faction. Now, Qin's faction was one of the larger factions in the region, and it had 20,000 people. Qin was wary of the Ying family, so he had to carefully develop his faction to avoid displeasing the Ying family. Otherwise, with the gifts from the Ying family, he would have been able to expand his faction to 40,000 people. After hearing the report, Yingxi found that her family's elders had decided to make her legatee Qin legatee's fiancée, or rather, one of his concubines. Hearing this, Yingxi felt that she didn't have much time left. Qiu Fengzi received orders from the Taoist sect master to maintain a friendly relationship with the Ying family. Perhaps this would affect legatee Qin legatee in the future, which would prevent the Taoist sect from becoming a disaster. Of course, Qiu Fengzi had heard about the heaven-awakened world sealing the Chaos Imperial Star. His family's sect master had also participated, and there was some karma between him and Qin legatee, so Qiu Fengzi understood the meaning behind the orders. Now, Qiu Fengzi felt quite conflicted. Should he report the shocking news that legatee Qin legatee was in the Ying family, or should he secretly look for him and join legatee Qin legatee? After thinking about it, Qiu Fengzi decided to secretly look for legatee Qin legatee because only he knew that legatee Qin legatee was in the Ying family. In that case, he might be the first person in the world to know legatee Qin legatee's real identity. This was a massive opportunity, and he definitely couldn't miss it. It was a pity that after searching for so long, he still hadn't found legatee Qin legatee's exact location, and he was quite curious as to where legatee Qin legatee was. What he didn't know was that Zhao Fu rarely went out. Within a building in the real world, next to a table with a few plates of snacks, two women were chatting. One of them looked to be 17 or 18 years old, and she was peerlessly beautiful and gave off a mysterious aura. She wore an ancient dress and had a veil over her face, and she pleaded, "Big sis, we'll have to rely on you this time. I hope that you can maintain a good relationship with legatee Qin legatee so that he can get rid of his hostility towards the school of Yinyang." He Xianru lightly sighed and nodded before looking up at the young woman and saying, "Xianling, I'll be relying on you this time. He's not a bloodthirsty person, but I hope that the sect master will treat this matter more carefully in the future. From my understanding of him, his fate is something that not even a god can control." Seeing that he Xianru had agreed, the young woman called Xianling smiled and said, "Thank you, big sis. The sect master regrets this matter, but he'll understand." Hearing this, he Xianru relaxed. She truly didn't want to become Zhao Fu's enemy. Only those who were by his side would know how terrifying he was. At that moment, Xianling asked curiously, "Big sis, tell me what kind of person he is. Tell me what kind of person he was, and what did he look like? Does he have a special type of charisma?" He Xianru felt quite surprised and asked teasingly, "Why are you suddenly asking this? Are you curious about him, or have you fallen in love with him?" Xianling's face became slightly red, and she held Yi Xianru's hand as she said coquettishly, "Big sis, with his current potential, he'll definitely become a genius in the future and a peerless hero. It would be strange if people weren't curious about him. Big sis, hurry up and tell me." Yi Xianru lightly laughed before starting to talk to the young woman. Chapter 307. This meeting lasted for 3 days. Even though the shocking secret couldn't be directly revealed, it could be hinted at. After hearing about this secret, countless people were incredibly shocked, and they all gave their opinions on what path Qin should take in the future. That was why the meeting had lasted for so long. After the meeting concluded, Qin returned to normal, but he did his best to keep a low profile and not attract too much attention. After all, Qin had already caused too much trouble. After a few days of low-profile development, the topic of Qin's Chaos Imperial Star gradually died down. Just as Zhao Fu had hoped, people would eventually forget about it. Because it was now autumn, the leaves had turned yellow, and it was time to harvest. Many fruits had ripened, and Qin started to get busy. Most of the wild fruits he gathered were for sale, and because there were so many of them, some were used to make fruit wine. This fruit wine could be used as a signature drink for restaurants, and it wasn't too strong, so it would be popular with women and younger people. Seeing that Qin was developing steadily, Zhao Fu felt at ease and returned to the real world. Just like before, he asked his bodyguard to prepare some food for him while he went to the Heaven Awakened World Forum and looked through the news. Most of it was related to Qin. Now, almost no faction dared to show any hostility towards Qin. Zhao Fu heard about the countless factions sending gifts to the Ying family, and Zhao Fu could only smile. At that moment, a phone call came in. Zhao Fu took out his phone and saw that it was from his grandpa. Zhao Fu immediately picked up the call and said, "Fu heir, it's your cousin's birthday today. It's your cousin's birthday today. Come over for dinner." Zhao Fu slightly frowned and wanted to refuse. He didn't want to get involved in such worldly affairs, but he decided to go. When he arrived at his grandfather's house, he was a little surprised. Zheng Jiao had become the girlfriend of his cousin, Zhao Hong. It seemed that after the previous incident, their relationship had improved by leaps and bounds, and they had developed into a couple. Zhao Fu didn't care too much about it. However, when Zhao Fu came to his grandfather's house, everyone treated Zhao Fu well, especially his uncle and aunt. Maybe it was because of what happened last time. Otherwise, they wouldn't treat him like this. Although they didn't hate him, they didn't like him either. After a simple meal, Zhao Fu left. He didn't give any gifts. Zhao Fu was used to forgetting that when he and his mother depended on each other, it was good enough to have a good meal. He didn't care about gifts. After everything was over, Zhao Fu walked back to his place. At this moment, a black car stopped beside him, and a driver stuck his head out. "Mr. Zhao, our young miss invites you over." Zhao Fu recognized this driver. He was Wu Qingyang's driver. "Why is Wu Qingyang looking for me?" Zhao Fu thought for a moment before getting into the car and heading to Wu Qingyang's place. Wu Qingyang was sitting on a sofa, holding a cup of coffee. Sitting next to her was a handsome young man. He wore a white shirt and black trousers, and he looked like the son of a big family. Zhao Fu also recognized this young man. He was the vice president of the student council, Xiao Yunfei. When Wu Qingyang saw Zhao Fu arrive, she smiled and had Zhao Fu sit down. She then had a female attendant bring a cup of coffee and said, "Zhao Fu, do you need me to introduce you?" Zhao Fu sat by the side and looked at Xiao Yunfei before smiling and saying, "No need. Young Master Xiao is an influential figure in Nansha University, so how could I not know him?" Xiao Yunfei smiled and said, "You must be Zhao Fu. I've heard Qingyang mention you a lot." When Zhao Fu heard Xiao Yunfei call out Wu Qingyang's name, he understood that Wu Qingyang and Xiao Yunfei's relationship was quite good. Before, Wu Qingyang had been the president, while Xiao Yunfei had been the vice president. "Zhao Fu, I called you over to get to know Yunfei. He's helped me quite a bit. You've done quite well, and you've exceeded my expectations." Wu Qingyang smiled as she praised Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu understood that Wu Qingyang was talking about heaven's choice, but he didn't mind and calmly replied, "It's nothing." "Zhao Fu." Wu Qingyang suddenly became serious as she said, "There's something else I need to ask of you. You're near East Green, and with Prince Qin's strength, void zones won't be able to stop him. If you meet him, you can represent me and do your best to curry favor with him. At the very least, maintain a friendly relationship with him." Wu Qingyang's opinion of Prince Qin was the same as most people's. Before, Prince Qin had been a threat to them, and they didn't want to be outdone and wanted to surpass Prince Qin. Now, it seemed like a joke. It wasn't just Wu Qingyang. No one in the world could be a match for Qin. The scene of the Chaos Imperial Star descending was simply too terrifying, and no one dared to openly oppose Qin. Wu Qingyang was the same. Now that the world was like this, she could only go with the flow and develop. After hearing Wu Qingyang's words and seeing how serious she looked, Zhao Fu inwardly laughed. However, his expression didn't change, and he nodded. Seeing this, Wu Qingyang felt much more at ease. Even though she also had people in the Forest of Horrors, she trusted in Zhao Fu's abilities. After all, her intuition had never been wrong. However, Wu Qingyang said apologetically to Zhao Fu, "I'll have to trouble you then." On the other hand, Zhao Fu didn't think much of it. After all, he was trying to curry favor with himself, so how could he feel wronged? However, beside him, Xiao Yunfei couldn't help but frown because Wu Qingyang's attitude wasn't that of a subordinate. The three of them chatted for a while before Zhao Fu and Xiao Yunfei left together, with Zhao Fu walking in front. At that moment, Xiao Yunfei walked over. Even though he had a smile on his face, he didn't seem as friendly or courteous as before. Instead, he said condescendingly, "Don't think that just having a bit of power is enough. It's best if you know your status. With your lowly status, you're not good enough for her." However, Qingyang is great Zhou's legatee, and her bloodline is incredibly noble. Of course, she wouldn't like someone from the collateral family like you. However, a servant has to act like a servant. If I see that you don't treat Qingyang as your master and try to develop a relationship with her, don't blame me for being angry. Xiao Yunfei warned Zhao Fu before walking past Zhao Fu, as if he didn't place Zhao Fu in his eyes at all. Zhao Fu didn't say anything, and his heart didn't change. He only glanced at Xiao Yunfei and knew that Xiao Yunfei was warning him, but with his current mental state, he didn't care. Chapter 308. Zhao Fu had ordered all of Qin City's factions to sever all ties with Gania. In order for Gania to better develop and obtain the position of city lord, Zhao Fu felt that it was necessary to personally go and see for himself. Following this, Zhao Fu went to Battle City by himself and found that Gania's faction, the Sword Sect, had become a large faction in Battle City. It had 10,000 or so people, and compared to other large factions, it didn't have as many people, but all of them were elites. There were players and indigenous residents, and because Battle City didn't restrict Outlanders, there were also some Outlanders in the Sword Sect. Everyone in the Sword Sect wore white clothes and had long swords at their waists, creating quite a scene in Battle City. It was said that Gunia's cultivation had reached stage 2, and through continuously challenging others and expanding the Sword Sect's influence, he had built up some prestige in Battle City. He had been listed as one of the 8 candidates to become city lord, and Zhao Fu's plan had succeeded. As long as Gunia could rise above the 8 candidates, he would become the future city lord of Battle City. Zhao Fu would have obtained a system main city and a system main city's military for free, which would be of great help to Zhao Fu. Right now, Zhao Fu didn't plan to do anything because Gunia and the Sword Sect were developing quite well. They didn't need Zhao Fu's interference, as that would only make things worse. However, Zhao Fu was worried that Gunia might not become the city lord in the end, so he would have to launch a coup. Even though Zhao Fu didn't want to do this, he couldn't let Qin City's resources and energy go to waste. When the time came, he would have to kill the other candidates or even assassinate the city lord. He had to obtain the position of city lord no matter what. After looking at the situation in Battle City, Zhao Fu felt quite satisfied and returned to Qin City. There was one more thing that caught Zhao Fu's attention. It had to do with the hatching of the wyvern egg. Within the dragon race, the wyvern's strength was indeed very weak and was considered trash. It was only slightly stronger than the wyverns, but it couldn't be forgotten that the majority of people had not even reached stage 1 yet. The wyvern's strength was enough to sweep through everything, because adult wyverns had stage 5 strength. Also, Zhao Fu's goal in bidding for the wyvern egg was not simple. If you think that Zhao Fu bought it and hatched it into a powerful pet, then you're completely wrong. Don't forget that Zhao Fu still had beings lair, universal den, grade, silver, description, one of the special dens. Any creature that occupies this den will spawn that creature. Currently, the universal den would spawn a void beast every 3 days. Qin used the void crystals on the void beast's heads to teleport across regions, opening up a path to the outer regions. Now, Qin had opened up 34 regions. If the universal den was conquered by the wyverns, it would spawn wyverns as well. Without the void beasts, Qin wouldn't be able to open up a path to the outer regions. But if he had a group of wyverns, it would be enough. Now, Qin had opened up many regions, and his economy was quite powerful. However, his military strength was still quite weak, and he couldn't fight against a system main city at all. However, with a group of wyverns, the situation would be completely different. They would greatly increase Qin's military strength and speed up the process of restoring his kingdom. However, after so much time had passed, Qin couldn't even control a region, let alone restore his kingdom. As such, Qin's military strength had to be strengthened. Even if he had to sacrifice some of his profits, Zhao Fu didn't mind. After all, this was simply too important to Qin City. The Universal Den was still silver grade, and if Zhao Fu wanted to raise it to gold grade, he needed 10 damaged Silver City hearts. These things were even rarer than Silver City creation stones, as no one would be stupid enough to destroy a village that they had conquered. As such, even though Zhao Fu had paid a high price, he had only been able to obtain 2. Zhao Fu decided to wait and see. If he had no other choice, Zhao Fu could only destroy the silver-grade villages he had and use them to upgrade the Universal Denver. After the Region Alliance had fought against each other, Zhao Fu had obtained village creation stones. Adding on the village creation stones from before, Qin now had 502 villages. Even though most of them were normal grade, Zhao Fu had at least 20 silver grade villages, so he could raise the Universal Den's grade. However, it would be quite painful. Now, it was time to hatch the wyvern egg. Zhao Fu ordered people to look for a few secret techniques that could reduce the incubation time to 1 year. However, Zhao Fu simply couldn't wait that long, especially after finding out that shocking secret. Zhao Fu definitely couldn't wait that long, as Qin didn't have much time. As such, Zhao Fu once again ordered people to look around to see if there was any other way to shorten the incubation time. After asking around, Zhao Fu found out that there was a type of spirit grass that could help incubate dragon eggs. This grass was called Dragon Incubating Celestial Grass, and it was a stage 4 spirit grass that was incredibly rare. It was said that it only grew where there were dragons because it absorbed dragon chi to grow. Zhao Fu immediately sent people to look for it, but they couldn't find anything. As such, they could only pay a high price for any information about dragon incubating celestial grass. In the end, they really did find some useful information. It was said that dragon incubating celestial grass could be found in the depths of the Forest of Horrors, but they could only go to the very depths of the Forest of Horrors to find it. The depths of the Forest of Horrors made Zhao Fu feel quite hesitant. After all, there was a super terrifying creature in the depths of every region, and even system main cities didn't dare to offend this creature. Not only were these creatures incredibly powerful, but they could also summon all of the wild beasts in the region to attack. Not only were they incredibly powerful, but they could also summon all of the beasts in the region to attack. It was said that in the depths of the Forest of Horrors, there was a 1,000-meter long devil flood dragon covered with black scales and with 6 blood-red eyes. Flood dragons were a type of creature in Chinese mythology. They were incredibly powerful and could overturn rivers and seas, but they were weaker than dragons. They looked just like dragons. They had a long and thin body like a snake, claws like an eagle, scales like a fish, and a mane like a horse. However, the biggest difference between dragons and flood dragons was their horns. Generally, dragons had a pair of horns that looked like deer antlers, while flood dragons didn't have horns. Even if they had horns, they would have short, sharp horns, and, at most, they could only have a single horn. Zhao Fu planned to go to the depths of the Forest of Horrors to look for dragon incubating celestial grass and to estimate the true strength of that super creature. After all, if he wanted to unify the entire region, this super creature would be a great threat. Chapter 309. This time, Zhao Fu made some simple preparations before heading towards the depths of the Forest of Horrors. The trees here were incredibly tall, and their canopies covered the sky. They were many times taller than the trees outside, and there was plenty of spirit chi here. Low-grade spirit grasses could be seen everywhere, but because they were too low-grade, Zhao Fu did not bother to collect them. At the same time, this place was not as relaxed as outside the Forest of Horrors. Instead, There was an oppressive and tense atmosphere, and it was as if there was danger everywhere. The depths of the Forest of Horrors were indeed quite dangerous. Suddenly, a black figure leapt out from the side and attacked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu drew his sword, sending out a sword light that sent the incoming figure flying. This was a creature that looked like a ferret. Its body was grayish-white, and it was a bit bigger than a normal dog. Its strength was at stage 2. There was a deep gash on the creature's shoulder, and blood flowed out from the wound. It seemed to be quite heavily injured. Zhao Fu's strength was comparable to that of a city lord, and a casual strike from him was enough to heavily injure this creature. Despite being so heavily injured, this creature still wanted to attack again. However, it was killed by Zhao Fu's sword through its throat. Within the Forest of Horrors, almost all creatures were at stage 2 or above, or else they would not be able to survive here. As such, Zhao Fu became quite wary. After looking at this creature's corpse, Zhao Fu found that the materials on its body were only normal. Right now, Zhao Fu did not even care about blue-grade materials, let alone these normal materials. As such, just as Zhao Fu was about to leave, he suddenly thought of something. The heaven and earth refining formation had only refined the corpses of humanoid creatures to obtain their high aptitude and cultivation. It had never refined the corpses of animals before. Even though this creature's materials were not good, it was at least stage 2, and perhaps he would be able to obtain something useful from it. Thinking to there, Zhao Fu put away the creature's corpse and continued onwards. However, not too long later, a massive rhinoceros that was 4 meters long rushed out and did not hesitate to attack. This rhinoceros had stage 3 cultivation, causing Zhao Fu to frown. There were too many creatures in the depths of the Forest of Horrors, and they were quite powerful. Zhao Fu put in some effort and killed the giant rhinoceros. Then, he put away the corpse and continued forward. The Forest of Horrors was even more terrifying at night. It was completely dark, and there are no sounds of insects. There is a dense aura of danger, making it seem like a scene from a horror film. Zhao Fu lit a fire and started to roast a few wild chickens. He had been busy for an entire day, but he hadn't gained anything. Apart from killing a dozen or so creatures, he hadn't even seen the dragon incubating celestial grass. Zhao Fu planned to go deeper into the Forest of Horrors tomorrow. Roar! A massive dragon-like roar suddenly sounded out throughout the entire forest, and an incredibly powerful aura spread out from the sky, causing the air to freeze. Countless creatures crawled on the ground and trembled. A massive figure appeared in the sky. It was 1,000 meters long and was covered with shiny black scales. It had 4 powerful claws, 6 blood-red eyes, and a long black iron dragon horn on its head. It flew in the sky without wings, causing the wind and clouds to blow, giving off a powerful aura of suppression. It looked incredibly mighty and domineering. Below, Zhao Fu immediately hid his aura. He had never thought that he would be able to find the 6-eyed flood dragon so quickly. The 6-eyed flood dragon was indeed the king of this region, and the aura it gave off was simply too powerful. Only under this aura did Zhao Fu feel how powerful it was. However, Zhao Fu stood on the ground and looked at the 6-eyed flood dragon's domineering and ferocious aura. If he used it as a mount, it would definitely be incredibly cool. As a Chinese person, Zhao Fu was quite fond of flood dragons. Right now, Zhao Fu did not have the ability to subdue the 6-eyed flood dragon, but if he had the chance in the future, he would give it a try. After resting for a night, Zhao Fu continued on his journey towards the depths of the Forest of Horrors. On the way, he encountered many powerful creatures, but Zhao Fu avoided them as much as he could. After all, Zhao Fu's main goal was to find dragon incubating celestial grass, not to fight. As such, he could not allow these creatures to waste his time. In the depths of the Forest of Horrors, the creatures here were all more powerful than the creatures outside. However, there were not as many of them, as the creatures here were quite intelligent and each had their own territory. Of course, Zhao Fu could not allow any creatures to enter this territory, or they would be attacked by them. By now, Zhao Fu had to be careful because the creatures here all had stage for cultivation, so Zhao Fu had to be careful. At the same time, there were many high-grade spirit grasses here, and Zhao Fu started to take note of them. Even though there were dangers everywhere, it was quite easy for Zhao Fu to deal with them. This was mainly because of Zhao Fu's assassin profession, which allowed him to hide his aura and sneak into these territories. Soon, Zhao Fu found a small blade of grass that was as long as a finger. It was snow white and had many hairs, and it only had a single leaf. This snow velvet grass was a stage 4 spirit grass and was quite valuable. Zhao Fu had found it next to a rotting tree, and high-grade spirit grasses like this could not even be bought with money. He had been quite lucky this time because there were no powerful creatures guarding it, so he had been able to obtain it easily. This made Zhao Fu quite happy. Zhao Fu continued onwards. Zhao Fu carefully avoided the places that gave off powerful auras and started to search around. His luck was quite good, and he found a few more spirit grasses that did not seem to be dangerous. Under these circumstances, another day passed, but there was still no sign of the dragon incubating celestial grass. Zhao Fu started to wonder if the information he had received was accurate. However, since he had come all the way here, he could not just go back like this. As such, Zhao Fu could only continue to carefully search around. Another day later, Zhao Fu hid on the crown of a large tree and looked ahead, and a smile appeared on his face. He had found 10 or so fruit trees that were 3 meters tall, and there were white fruits that were as big as lychees on them. These fruits gave off a strange light and seemed quite extraordinary. Zhao Fu had seen this type of spirit fruit before. It was the white-furred monkey king that he had killed. There had been a tree like this next to the white-furred monkey king's den, and after going back, Zhao Fu had done some research and found that this fruit was called the windbell fruit, and it would give off a bell-like ringing sound when touched. There were 10 or so windbell fruit trees here, and he could dig them all up and plant them on a large scale. The windbell fruit was a stage 3 spirit fruit, and if he could obtain the pill recipe, Zhao Fu would be able to refine a stage 3 medicinal pill. A stage 3 medicinal pill would definitely be more powerful than the stage 200 origin pill that Qin was using. Chapter 310. However, these 10 or so windbell fruit trees weren't easy to obtain, and there were also 30 or so red apes guarding them. These red apes had dark red fur and were 2 meters tall. They looked quite ferocious, and it was obvious that they weren't easy to deal with. These were just ordinary red apes, and one of them was 3 meters tall. Apart from its dark red fur, it also had a pair of platinum-colored eyes, making it look quite terrifying. The ordinary red ape cultivation had already reached stage 3, and they were all elites. The 3-meter-tall red ape was a lord-class creature. If Zhao Fu rushed over like this, it was possible that he wouldn't be a match for a stage 4 lord-grade creature and 30 or so elites. Zhao Fu was worried that the windbell fruit trees would be damaged, so he had to find a way to lure them away and deal with them one by one. If he could obtain 10 or so windbell fruit trees, this trip to the Forest of Horrors would be worth it. After thinking for a while, Zhao Fu thought of a method. Because there was a cliff that was a few hundred meters tall, Zhao Fu thought of a way to catch them all in one fell swoop. Among the 30 or so red apes, there were a few young red apes playing nearby. These young red apes weren't as alert or intelligent as their parents, so they were quite easy to deal with. Zhao Fu hid his aura and stealthily approached the young red apes. He first rolled a few spirit fruits over, attracting the attention of the 2 young red apes. The 2 young red apes were quite innocent and didn't notice anything. They walked over and looked at the fruits before happily eating them. A few small spirit fruits were eaten by the 2 little red apes in a few bites, but they still seemed to want more. At this moment, a few more spirit fruits rolled over from the distance. The 2 little red apes walked over without any hesitation and ate a few more spirit fruits. This happened a few times, and they got further and further away from the other young red apes. When they entered a forest and were about to pick up more spirit fruits, a ghost-like figure appeared behind them. A ghost-like figure appeared behind them and knocked out the 2 unsuspecting little red apes with 2 blows. Then, The figure carried the two little red apes and ran towards the cliff on the side. With his full speed, in less than 5 or 6 minutes, Zhao Fu arrived at the bottom of the cliff. First, he tied the two little red apes to the bottom of the cliff. First, he woke them up, then he used his sword to make a few cuts on their bodies. The two little red apes immediately cried out in pain. Because the distance was very close, the group of red apes were greatly alarmed, and they all ran towards the cliff. The red apes quickly arrived at the bottom of the cliff. Looking at the two injured and bleeding red apes, the red apes could not bear to watch and immediately rushed up the cliff. However, they were stopped by the Red Ape Lord. By now, the Red Ape Lord's intelligence was not inferior to that of humans, and it could tell that this was a trap. As such, it stopped the red apes that wanted to rush over and looked around vigilantly. Seeing that the plan had failed, Zhao Fu immediately executed the next plan. Abrupt. A streak of purple light shot towards the Red Ape Lord. It was incredibly fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had reached the Red Ape Lord. Just as it was about to hit the Red Ape Lord, the Red Ape Lord stretched out its hand and grabbed the streak of purple light. The purple streak of light was tightly grasped and turned into an arrow. The Red Ape Overlord gripped it tightly, and the arrow immediately snapped. Arg! Arg! Two pained cries sounded out as the two red apes that had been tied up at the bottom of the cliff were killed with a single sword strike. A mysterious figure holding a demon sword and wearing a black cloak appeared above the corpses of the two red apes, standing in the air. It was evident that he was the one who had killed the two red apes. At that moment, all of the red apes furiously roared and charged at Zhao Fu as if they had lost their minds. Zhao Fu immediately turned and ran. The Red Ape Lord and the other red apes gave off dense killing intent as they chased after Zhao Fu. Boom! However, at that moment, a massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying red sword light flashed, causing the top of the cliff to collapse. The red apes were given a big fright and immediately ran to the side. However, it was too late. Countless boulders weighing thousands of kilograms fell from the sky with shocking power, crushing the red apes in a meat paste and causing blood to spurt everywhere. After the dust settled, it turned out that there was a large pile of boulders at the bottom of the cliff. There were hands and feet poking out from some places, and the ground was covered with blood. Zhao Fu was quite pleased to see that his plan had succeeded. He stretched out his hand, and Slaughtering Ghost turned into a blood-red light and returned to Zhao Fu's hand, turning into a blood-red sword. After looking around and seeing that there were no survivors, Zhao Fu decided to go back and dig up the windbell fruit trees. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as countless boulders were sent flying. A figure covered in a platinum aura flame rushed out from the pile of boulders and charged at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was given a big fright, and he drew his sword and turned to block. Bang! An explosion sounded out as the two of them collided, resulting in a shockwave. Zhao Fu used his sword to block the Red Ape Lord's punch, and he was forced back a step. He looked at the bloodied Red Ape Lord staring at him savagely. Roar! Now, almost all of the other red apes were dead, and it was all because of this human. The Red Ape Lord furiously roared and punched out, sending out a platinum fist image. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and vigorously slashed out, destroying the fist image. However, the Red Ape Lord once again punched out, causing the air to explode as it ferociously punched towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's eyes narrowed as he coldly shouted, "Godly demonic thrust!" The Sky Demon Sword in Zhao Fu's hand gave off a large amount of black sword chi, and Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out, causing a massive sword image to appear. It gave off a ferocious sword aura as it slashed out, destroying the countless fist images and sending the Red Ape Lord flying. A long gash appeared on its chest, from which blood spurted out. Just then, Zhao Fu had used a godly skill, and even though it was a very simple skill, it was incredibly powerful. After all, it was a godly skill. Seeing the Red Ape Lord fly backwards, Zhao Fu rushed up and prepared to follow up with another attack. However, at that moment, the red ape lord opened its mouth and spat out a platinum beam of light. This beam of light was incredibly brilliant, and it gave off a terrifying aura, forcing Zhao Fu to dodge. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the platinum beam of light slammed into a mountain, opening up a 1 meter wide and 10 or so meters deep hole. As soon as Zhao Fu dodged, the red ape lord immediately turned into a black blur and once again appeared by Zhao Fu's side, punching toward Zhao Fu with a ferocious aura. Zhao Fu ferociously stabbed out with his sword, and a demon image gave off an evil aura as it leapt towards the red ape lord. At such a close distance, the red ape lord was unable to dodge at all, and it could only explode out with a platinum light to defend against the Sky Demon Soul's attack. Chapter 311. Boom! Zhao Fu vigorously threw out the evil-crushing spear, which turned into a silver ray of light and gave off a sharp aura as it shot towards the red ape lord, creating a shocking scene. The red ape lord roared as it flew backwards, and its arms gave off a brilliant white light that formed a platinum-colored shield of light in front of it. Bang! The massive ray of silver light slammed into the platinum-colored shield of light, resulting in a massive explosion. The platinum-colored shield of light shattered into countless pieces and disappeared, and the ray of silver light became much dimmer as it continued towards the red ape lord. The red ape lord gripped its fists and punched out, bringing with it a gale as a massive platinum-colored fist image flew out and collided with the ray of silver light. Bang! The silver light and platinum-colored fist image collided and exploded, turning into a shockwave that blasted out. The red ape lord's body was sent flying backwards. Sky Demon Slash. Zhao Fu's figure suddenly appeared beside the red ape lord, and he slashed out with the Sky Demon Sword, sending out a sharp black arc of light. The red ape lord was greatly startled and twisted its body as it vigorously punched out, causing platinum-colored light to explode out. Boom! The platinum-colored fist ferociously slammed into the sharp black arc of light, resulting in a massive explosion. The black arc of light gradually dissipated, and the red ape lord's fist became a bloody mess. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu slashed out with his sword, bringing with it a large amount of black sword chi. The black sword chi flooded towards the red ape lord. The red ape lord raised its arms in front of its body and once again unleashed a platinum shield of light, blocking most of the sword chi that surged over like a tidal wave. Godly demonic thrust. A massive black sword image once again appeared, giving off immense power as it slashed out, destroying the platinum-colored shield of light and leaving deep gashes on the red ape lord's arms, from which blood quickly flowed out. Roar! The red ape lord roared in pain and looked at Zhao Fu savagely. It opened its mouth, and a brilliant platinum light gathered at its throat. It was about to shoot out another platinum light beam. Zhao Fu took this opportunity to stab his sword into the red ape lord's stomach. His sword twisted, and sword chi exploded out, causing the platinum light in the red ape lord's throat to disappear. It had been interrupted by Zhao Fu, and the red ape lord coughed up a large mouthful of blood. It furiously raised its hand and slapped toward Zhao Fu, giving off a terrifying aura. At this moment, Zhao Fu dodged to the side and took advantage of the enraged red ape lord's attack to stab his sword into the red ape lord's chest. The red ape lord was greatly startled, and it released a large amount of platinum light to protect its chest. Instantly, Zhao Fu felt a wave of resistance, but he sent his king's power into the sword and pushed out. The sword gave off a black sword light as it pierced through the red ape lord's chest. The red ape lord's eyes glazed over, and its body powerlessly fell toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu put his sword away and walked to the side. He watched as the red ape lord's corpse fell to the ground, and he announced its death. 3 items dropped from the red ape lord's body, and Zhao Fu looked at them with interest. The first item was an orb of light that gave off a faint white light. It didn't look very special, but the aura it gave off was a type of soul aura. Soul power. The soul power left behind by a powerful creature. It can be used to strengthen items or be devoured by a person to increase one's soul power. However, there are some side effects. Zhao Fu had planned to directly devour it, but seeing that there were side effects, he put it aside for now. The second item was a white jade plate. It was about the same size as a normal plate, but there was an 8 trigrams engraved on it, making it look quite profound. 8 trigrams unsealing, an extremely powerful unsealing item that can remove all kinds of seals. However, it is a one-time consumable item. This item was only used to remove seals, and it didn't seem to be very useful to Zhao Fu right now. He still had 2 unsealing stones that he had obtained from Sky Ghost treasure bag, so he could only put this 8 trigrams unsealing away. The last item was a platinum-colored crystal. It wasn't very big, only a few centimeters wide, and it gave off a faint platinum-colored light. The aura it gave off was quite familiar to Zhao Fu. It was the aura of the Azure Bird blood crystal that he had obtained from the auction. Holy Hall blood crystal. Contains a trace of the Holy Hall's bloodline. This bloodline is an advanced bloodline, and after using this item, one can obtain this bloodline. However, one can only inherit a trace of this bloodline. As expected, this was also a bloodline crystal. This Holy Hall bloodline was most likely the Red Ape's bloodline, and even though it was an advanced bloodline, Zhao Fu felt that it was inferior to the Azure Bird bloodline. Moreover, this meant that one could only inherit a trace of this bloodline. In other words, one only had a trace of a Holy Hall bloodline, and it wasn't even half a Holy Hall bloodline. This meant that the purity of the bloodline was incredibly low, and it was far from being comparable to a pure-blooded Holy Hall bloodline. However, as long as one had a trace of this bloodline and worked hard to continuously strengthen it, the bloodline's purity would gradually increase, and one could become a pure-blooded bloodline. This Holy Hall bloodline wasn't very useful to Zhao Fu, as he didn't even care about the Azure Bird bloodline. So how could he care about this Holy Hall bloodline? Now that Zhao Fu's bloodline was the God-Killer Royal bloodline, Zhao Fu wanted to maintain the purity of his bloodline as much as possible. Perhaps it would be useful in the future. The 3 items that the Red Ape Lord dropped were all useless for now, so Zhao Fu put them away. Even though the Red Ape Lord hadn't dropped a gold-grade city creation stone, he was quite satisfied with it. At the same time, Zhao Fu put away the Red Ape Lord's corpse. These were all gold-grade materials, and he couldn't let them go to waste. As for the other Red Ape corpses, Zhao Fu couldn't be bothered to look through them anymore, and he decided to go back and dig up the windbell fruit trees. "Master, don't go. I want that much fleshly essence." The Sky Demon's voice suddenly sounded out. There were 30 or so stage 3 Red Ape corpses there, and they all contained a lot of fleshly essence. It was evidently going to be a feast, and the Sky Demon hurriedly stopped Zhao Fu. Hearing this, Zhao Fu didn't mind and agreed. The Sky Demon happily laughed, and the Sky Demon's sword turned into a ray of black light that stabbed into the pile of rocks, causing a black aura to flow out and cover the entire pile of rocks. Seeing that the Sky Demon had started to devour the fleshly essence, Zhao Fu brought the slaughtering ghost sword to the windbell fruit trees. There were a few Red Ape cubs there, and they looked at Zhao Fu in fear. Zhao Fu looked at these Red Ape cubs and found that their bloodlines weren't that special, so he didn't kill them and just chased them away. As for whether they lived or died, that wasn't something that Zhao Fu cared about. Zhao Fu started to dig up the windbell fruit trees, which was quite simple. He used the slaughtering ghost sword and stabbed it 3 or 4 meters into the ground, digging it out. After about half an hour, Zhao Fu had dug up all of the windbell fruit trees. There were 17 in total, and Zhao Fu had already put them into his king's ring. Chapter 312. Over the next few days, although Zhao Fu had some gains, he still hadn't found any dragon incubating celestial grass. This was quite a blow to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had already searched all of the nearby areas, and there were 2 choices in front of Zhao Fu. The first was to go deeper into the Forest of Horrors. However, this was already the deepest part of the Forest of Horrors, and if he went any further, he would reach the six-eyed flood dragon's nest. The second option was to leave the depths of the Forest of Horrors and continue to collect information on dragon incubating celestial grass. After all, even if he went deeper, he might not find dragon incubating celestial grass, and the six-eyed flood dragon's nest was incredibly dangerous. He pondered for a moment. Zhao Fu decided to go in and take a look. If there was no dragon incubating celestial grass, then he would just leave the Forest of Horrors. After making this decision, Zhao Fu started to move, and he was incredibly careful. With Zhao Fu's current strength, he could not defeat the six-eyed flood dragon, so he could only use his nation armament. However, Zhao Fu did not want to casually use his nation armament, as it consumed a lot of fate. After concealing his aura, Zhao Fu did not make a single sound, and he did not even make any footsteps. This was because Zhao Fu was using the flight stone to float 1 meter above the ground, and he floated deeper into the Forest of Horrors like a ghost. As Zhao Fu moved forward, the spirit chi became denser and denser. There were spirit grasses and spirit fruits everywhere, and there were many kinds of them. Even the ordinary trees and grasses were green and full of vitality. There were almost no other large creatures here. There were only a few butterflies and bees flying about, and the scenery here was much more beautiful than outside. However, Zhao Fu was not in the mood to appreciate it. As soon as he entered, he looked around for dragon incubating celestial grass. White jade scarlet sun fruit. Upper third stage spirit fruit. Collect. Chi gathering spirit grass. Low level 3 spirit grass. Collect. Jade dew green leaf. Peak level 3 spirit leaf. Collect. Bitter ginseng medicinal root. Middle grade 3 spirit root. Collect. This place was truly a treasure trove. In less than an hour, Zhao Fu had dug up more than 200 spiritual grasses. There were dozens of types, and the least of them were rank 3 spiritual grasses. This was because Zhao Fu was not interested in spiritual grasses below rank 3. However, after collecting so many spirit grasses, he still hadn't found the dragon incubating celestial grass. As such, Zhao Fu once again looked ahead with a serious expression on his face. Zhao Fu could clearly sense a massive aura in front of him. That was where the six-eyed flood dragon was. This made Zhao Fu hesitate, and he thought to himself, should I wait for the six-eyed flood dragon to leave before going in to take a look? But who knows when we'll go out? It might take 10 days to half a month. Am I going to stay here for that long? That won't do. Zhao Fu made up his mind and continued forward. Hiding his aura with all of his strength, Zhao Fu didn't dare to be careless, and he floated forwards like a ghost. Soon, Zhao Fu arrived at a valley. The spirit chi here was extremely dense, and it wasn't just the ordinary grasses and trees. Even the rocks and streams seemed to contain spirituality. The powerful aura here caused the air to seem to freeze. The six-eyed flood dragon was right in front of him, and this caused Zhao Fu to stop. After thinking for a moment, he continued onwards. Of course, he couldn't directly enter, or he would be discovered. As such, Zhao Fu flew towards the side of the mountain. Because he had a flight stone, this was quite easy. Zhao Fu carefully came to a slope and looked down. There was a large flat area covered with green grass, and there was a black flood dragon that was 1,000 meters long sleeping soundly on the grass. Beside it, there were patches of black grass that were half a foot long and had snake-like branches. There were 4 black leaves that looked like claws. This was the dragon incubating celestial grass that Zhao Fu was looking for. Zhao Fu was delighted. He had never thought that he would encounter so many dragon incubating celestial grass. There were so many that he couldn't even count how many there were. 1 dragon incubating celestial grass could reduce the incubation time by 4 months. 2 dragon incubating celestial grass could reduce the incubation time by 8 months. And 3 dragon incubating celestial grass could reduce the incubation time by 12 months. 3 dragon incubating celestial grass could reduce the incubation time by 12 months. However, the dragon incubating celestial grass could only be used once a month. Otherwise, if he gave 3 dragon incubating celestial grass to Zhao Fu would immediately be able to hatch the wyvern egg. Since he could only use dragon incubating celestial grass once a month, he would be able to hatch the wyvern egg in 3 months. This was already quite good, as it would reduce the incubation time to 3 months. However, the key issue was how to obtain the dragon incubating celestial grass. The dragon incubating celestial grass was right next to the 6-eyed flood dragon, and it was simply too dangerous to go there and pick the grass. Suddenly, Zhao Fu thought of the dream incense that he had bought at the auction. Its powerful effects could cause creatures of the Lord rank and above to fall into a deep sleep, and the dream incense's effects could definitely cause the 6-eyed flood dragon to fall into a deep sleep as well. However, the dream incense was an important item in Zhao Fu's other plan, and it could only last for 3 minutes. Could it be that I have to use it here? Zhao Fu hesitated as he looked at the sleeping 6-eyed flood dragon. In the end, Zhao Fu decided not to use the dream incense, as the dream incense was incredibly important to Zhao Fu's other plan. Without it, Zhao Fu would not be able to carry out that plan. On the other hand, Zhao Fu thought to himself, the 6-eyed flood dragon is sleeping soundly, and there is so much dragon incubating celestial grass. If I don't get greedy, I'll just pick 3 in the outskirts and run away after picking them. I shouldn't be discovered, right? With this thought in mind, Zhao Fu started to nervously move as he slowly and carefully floated downwards. There were no surprises or dangers along the way, and Zhao Fu arrived at the flat ground below. He slowly approached the 6-eyed flood dragon. Suddenly, the 6-eyed flood dragon rolled on the ground, scaring Zhao Fu, who was about to get close to it, into hiding behind a large rock. After a long while, seeing that there was no reaction, Zhao Fu walked out from behind the large rock and deeply breathed in before once again cautiously approaching the 6-eyed flood dragon. 1 meter, 20 meters, 100 meters. The distance between Zhao Fu and the 6-eyed flood dragon continuously decreased, and Zhao Fu's heart became more and more nervous, as if it was about to jump out of his throat. Finally, Zhao Fu stood 200 meters away from the 6-eyed flood dragon. This was the outskirts of the dragon incubating celestial grass, and as long as Zhao Fu stretched out his hand, he would be able to pick one. However, Zhao Fu still looked at the 6-eyed flood dragon warily. Up close, the 6-eyed flood dragon looked even more domineering and mighty. Its body was covered with shiny black scales. Its claws gave off a cold light. Its powerful body and its savage dragon head gave off a powerful aura that seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and earth. Zhao Fu didn't hesitate and squatted down, grabbed a dragon incubating celestial grass, and lightly pulling out the first dragon incubating celestial grass. After obtaining the first dragon incubating celestial grass, Zhao Fu nervously looked at the 6-eyed flood dragon. When he saw that the 6-eyed flood dragon didn't show any signs of waking up, he relaxed a bit. He grabbed the second dragon incubating celestial grass and lightly pulled out the second dragon incubating celestial grass. Suddenly, Chapter 3:13. In that moment of crisis, Zhao Fu's body froze. He grabbed the dragon incubating celestial grass and turned into a ray of black light as he unhesitatingly ran. The 6-eyed flood dragon's blood-red eyes were filled with savagery because it had discovered that there was a thief who dared to steal its spirit herbs. This person was simply looking down on it, as it was the king of the forest of horrors. The 6-eyed flood dragon was incredibly angry, and it wanted to devour that thief in one bite. However, when it saw that it was Zhao Fu, its expression fell, and it flew into the air in fear as it looked at Zhao Fu, who was running away, and cried out, "Human, I didn't offend you, so why did you come here?" Zhao Fu, who was running away, suddenly heard a little girl's voice from behind him, and he felt quite surprised. He turned and saw that the 6-eyed flood dragon was looking at him in fear. This 6-eyed flood dragon can talk. However, seeing that the 6-eyed flood dragon had no intention of attacking, Zhao Fu stopped and looked up at the 6-eyed flood dragon. AI, human, you can talk. The six-eyed flood dragon saw that Zhao Fu had stopped and was looking at it with his blood-red eyes. The scene of the Chaos Imperial Star descending a few days ago flashed in its mind, and when it thought back to those blood-red eyes, it immediately felt a chill run down its spine. The six-eyed flood dragon flew higher in fear and cried out to Zhao Fu. From when Qin had obtained the Heaven and Earth Fate legacy to when the Chaos Imperial Star had descended, the destructive power that he had given off had caused the six-eyed flood dragon to feel incredibly terrified. It had been on edge every day, afraid that that person would come to find it. If it wasn't for the fact that it was difficult to find its lair and that every region had an owner, the six-eyed flood dragon would have long since run away. However, she had never thought that Zhao Fu would come to her. The six-eyed flood dragon was incredibly familiar with Zhao Fu's aura, so she was so scared that she flew into the air and did not feel sleepy at all. Hearing the six-eyed flood dragon's words, Zhao Fu thought for a moment and didn't hide his intentions. He pointed with his finger and said, "I want this black grass." The six-eyed flood dragon looked down and saw that it was just a blade of grass that was completely useless to her. She let out a sigh of relief and said, "All right, hurry up and take it. We don't want to fight." Zhao Fu looked quite confused and did not understand why the six-eyed devil flood dragon was so afraid of him. However, hearing her words, he felt quite delighted and asked in disbelief, "Are you sure?" "Humph. I'll keep my word, but don't bully me." The six-eyed flood dragon lightly harumphed. Her voice was like that of a 5- or 6-year-old girl. It was childish and cute. It was hard to imagine that the six-eyed flood dragon, with its ferocious and domineering appearance, could produce such a sound. Zhao Fu did not hold back and started to collect the dragon incubating immortal grass. He was inwardly overjoyed. He had never thought that he would be able to obtain so much dragon incubating immortal grass so easily. The six-eyed flood dragon hovered in the air and watched as Zhao Fu collected dragon incubating celestial grass. After some time, the six-eyed flood dragon saw that Zhao Fu did not have any intention of harming it, and it asked curiously, "Human, what do you want this grass for?" "I'll incubate it when I get back." Zhao Fu smiled as he continued to collect dragon incubating celestial grass. "What? You have a dragon egg? Do you have a dragon's essence blood? I'll give you something in exchange." The six-eyed flood dragon looked quite surprised before happily asking expectantly. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. Why would the six-eyed flood dragon want a dragon's essence blood? He only had a wyvern egg, and even an adult wyvern would lose to the six-eyed flood dragon without a doubt. Hearing that he had a dragon egg, the six-eyed flood dragon shouldn't have been so surprised. "Did you misunderstand?" As expected, after Zhao Fu told her about his dragon egg, the six-eyed flood dragon looked quite disappointed. "So it's those big lizards. I thought it was a true dragon egg." Zhao Fu awkwardly laughed. True dragons had at least stage 8 power, so how could Zhao Fu obtain one? However, after taking so much dragon incubating celestial grass, Zhao Fu felt quite embarrassed, so he agreed to help her obtain some true dragon's essence blood in the future. "Thank you." By now, the six-eyed flood dragon had completely let down its guard. It flew down from the sky and lay by the side, looking quite happy as it spoke to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu said that there was no need to be polite, and he started to chat with the six-eyed flood dragon. He found out why it was so afraid of him and why it needed dragon's essence blood. Zhao Fu had never thought that the abnormal signs he had caused would give the six-eyed flood dragon a big fright, and it started to fear him. This explained why the six-eyed flood dragon hadn't attacked him before. If it had been a normal battle, it would have been unavoidable. The six-eyed flood dragon needed a dragon's essence blood to help it transform into a dragon. In China, there was a legend that a snake could become a python after cultivating for 100 years. A python could become a flood dragon after cultivating for 1,000 years, and a flood dragon could become a dragon after cultivating for 10,000 years. Of course, the six-eyed flood dragon definitely hadn't cultivated for that long, but it wasn't easy for a flood dragon to transform into a dragon. However, The six-eyed flood dragon had the bloodline of a king-class evil god-devil dragon, which made it much easier for the six-eyed flood dragon to transform into a dragon. The six-eyed flood dragon's creature rank was a region lord, and above that was a king lord. Above that was an emperor lord, and then an emperor lord. As for the levels above that, I don't know. By now, Zhao Fu had finished collecting all of the dragon-incubating celestial grass. There were tens of thousands of them, and he would be able to mass plant them when he got back. He had never thought that he would be getting along quite well with the six-eyed flood dragon. I'll be going now. After this matter was concluded, Zhao Fu said his goodbyes. The six-eyed flood dragon looked quite reluctant because there was almost no one she could talk to. She had finally found someone she could talk to, but he was about to leave again. Zhao Fu, come back often when you have time. The six-eyed flood dragon found out about Zhao Fu's name through their conversations, and she knew that she couldn't ask him to stay. As such, she hoped that he would come to see her more often. At the same time, she felt quite at ease. She wouldn't have to worry about Zhao Fu making trouble for her in the future. Following this, Zhao Fu left, leaving behind a few small toys. Because the six-eyed flood dragon was like a 5- or 6-year-old girl, she happily accepted them and carefully controlled her devil chi as she started to play with them. After returning to Qin City, Zhao Fu took out a large amount of dragon-incubating celestial grass and ordered his subordinates to start planting them. Dragons could not only be spawned from dens, but they could also be obtained by giving birth. As such, if he wanted to mass hatch dragon eggs in the future, dragon-incubating celestial grass would be necessary. He also planted 10 or so windbell fruit trees. Following this, Zhao Fu used the secret technique that he had collected to refine the dragon-incubating celestial grass and a few other spirit herbs into a bottle of potion. The potion looked like ink and gave off a very fishy smell. Chapter 314. After taking care of these matters, Zhao Fu took care of the next matter, which was to refine the beast corpses. Zhao Fu didn't know what he would obtain, so he stood next to the heaven and earth refining formation and threw a stage 2 beast corpse onto it. The heaven and earth refining laws started to circulate, and the corpse was lifted into the air by a formless energy. The corpse then started to melt and turned into a set of bones. 2 items appeared in front of Zhao Fu. The first was a blood-red orb of light that gave off a faint blood-red light, and it looked like a grade orb. Grade C, a powerful item that can raise one's grade to C grade, but it can only be used by beast-type creatures. This was indeed a grade orb, but it could not be used by humans. Only beasts could use it. The second item was a blood-red ball that was as big as soybeans. Zhao Fu didn't know what they were made of, but they felt like stones. Raising Stone contains a large amount of fleshly essence. It can be fed to beasts to speed up their growth. Humans can also use this item, but there will be side effects of beastification. Zhao Fu had never thought that this item would be useful, but it was still quite good. It could be used to feed all sorts of beasts, but it could also be used by humans. However, there would be side effects of beastification, which meant that one's body would take on the characteristics of a beast, and one would lose their mind. This made it so that Zhao Fu didn't want to give the raising stone to soldiers. Both of these items were quite good, and Zhao Fu took out a 3-meter-tall corpse. It was the Red Ape Lord's corpse. After refining the Red Ape Lord's corpse, Zhao Fu obtained an SS-grade orb, 10 or so nurturing stones, and one more thing. It was a rectangular, blood-red jade that was only a few centimeters wide, and it gave off a bloody smell. Grade jade can raise a creature's grade after using it. The effects are based on the creature's grade. This grade jade's effect was to raise a normal creature to an elite or chief creature. The amount of increase depended on the creature's grade, but Zhao Fu didn't know. Zhao Fu then refined the other beast corpses. This grade jade could only be obtained from chief creature corpses. This was quite a good item, and Zhao Fu smiled as he put it all away. In the depths of the Forest of Horrors, Zhao Fu had killed many beasts, and there were 300 or so corpses. After refining all of them, Zhao Fu obtained many raising stones. With these of the raising stones, it would be much easier for Zhao Fu to raise dragons. Dragon eggs would take a long time to hatch, and of the raising stones would take a long time to grow. With these raising dragon eggs would grow much faster. With these raising dragon eggs, Zhao Fu of Qin into the dragon corpses. After taking care of all of the beast corpses, Zhao Fu went to the Rising Qin Academy. Little Gray and Little Black were quite lively, and they liked to run around everywhere. When they were bored in the Qin Academy, they would go on expeditions. Little White was much more docile, and it would sometimes play with Little Gray and Little Black. However, most of the time, it would stay by Asani's side because Asani really liked Little White. Most girls like furry and cute things. Your Majesty. At that moment, Asani came to Zhao Fu's side with Little White and happily cried out. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded as he took Little White from her. Little White was a void beast, and its grade was quite ordinary. However, because there weren't many of them, even with Qin's nurturing, it was only at the elite level. This had a lot to do with its grade. The higher a creature's grade was, the easier it would be to raise it. On the other hand, the lower a creature's grade was, the more difficult it would be to raise it. This was why Little White was only an elite-level creature. Before taming Little White, Zhao Fu had said that he would give an opportunity, and Zhao Fu would definitely keep his promise. Zhao Fu not only gave Little White the grade Orb, but he also gave the grade Jade to Little White. Little White's aura became much more powerful, and it went from an elite creature to a chief creature. Because it had been refined from a lord creature, Little White would most likely be even stronger than a chief creature. At this moment, a soldier came to report that Daisy had brought back a statue. Hearing this, Zhao Fu went to the hall and found Daisy waiting for him with a statue on the table. Seeing Zhao Fu arrive, Daisy respectfully called out, "Your Majesty." Zhao Fu lightly nodded in response before looking at the statue. This statue was 1 meter tall and was carved from wood. It looked like a woman dressed in ancient clothes, and it was incredibly lifelike. The woman's aura was as soft and gentle as water, and it was perfectly portrayed. Water God Statue. Level 1 Description: a statue of a water god that can protect ships on water. Requires sacrifices of incense, and the more incense there is, the more powerful the water god statue's level and stats will be. Water god statue stats. Water god's protection, resistance to natural disasters plus 1%. This water god statue looked like the Earth Temple, but it was different. Zhao Fu's pupils constricted as he found that there was a trace of a soul within this statue. Sensing Zhao Fu's gaze, the soul within the statue felt quite afraid because Zhao Fu now had the god-killer profession. However, after looking at it for a while, Zhao Fu looked away. The water god statue's stats were quite different from the Earth Temple's because the water god was not a god, but a divine profession formed from many beliefs. It had weak divine power, so its stats could not compare to the Earth Temple's. After all, the Earth Temple was a true, godly spirit. The trace of soul within the statue was the person who had obtained the godly profession. Zhao Fu did not plan to do anything to this trace of soul, and it was not easy for a godly profession to appear. First, a person with great fate had to die, and it would take a few generations of faith and worship before it would appear. The water god statue's stats would be quite important when sailing on rivers in the future. Even though Qin was currently in a place without any rivers, it would be even more important in the future, such as battles on rivers and lakes. Zhao Fu did not hesitate and ordered people to start building a temple to worship this statue. Following this, Zhao Fu turned his gaze to Daisy. Thinking about the Holy Church blood crystal, it was most likely a holy light bloodline and would be quite suitable for Daisy. As such, he took out the blood crystal and tossed it to Daisy. Daisy caught it and looked at it before smiling and bowing, saying, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu lightly nodded and said, "Go ahead and use it. Let me see what the effects are." Daisy understood and started to use it. The Holy Church blood crystal in her hand turned into a platinum-colored orb of light and entered her body. Suddenly, a look of pain appeared on Daisy's face, and her body gave off a faint white light. Just as she was about to collapse, Zhao Fu reached out and hugged her. Chapter 315. Her long hair and bright eyes had become platinum-colored, and her skin had become even more lustrous. Her entire body gave off a white light, and with her beautiful face and mature figure, even Zhao Fu felt quite moved. Daisy gradually regained consciousness, and when she felt that she was in Zhao Fu's embrace and that her hand were tightly holding on to Zhao Fu, she felt quite panicked and wanted to stand up and beg for forgiveness. However, when she suddenly met Zhao Fu's gaze, Daisy felt a trace of shyness and lowered her head as she lay in Zhao Fu's embrace, not daring to move at all. Zhao Fu looked away and smiled as he asked caringly, "How do you feel now?" Daisy's body felt quite stiff as she lay in Zhao Fu's embrace. It was the first time that she had looked at Zhao Fu's face at such a close distance. Ever since Zhao Fu had taken advantage of the conflict between the four villages to subdue her, so much time had passed. Her impression of Zhao Fu had continuously changed, and she had completely acknowledged Zhao Fu. However, she was currently feeling quite shy, and she didn't feel anything for now. Of course, if Zhao Fu wanted to do anything to her, she wouldn't object. "Your Majesty, I'm fine now." Daisy quickly looked away and smiled. Because Zhao Fu didn't have any intention of letting her stand up, Daisy could only nervously lie in Zhao Fu's embrace as her heart rate sped up. Seeing how weak she was, Zhao Fu first looked at Daisy's stats, and he found that the Holy Hall bloodline was indeed quite good. Daisy's stats had greatly increased, and she now had a special attack, which was the platinum-colored light. This was the effect of the bloodline. Daisy, who was in Zhao Fu's arms, suddenly let out a moan. She couldn't help but bury her head in Zhao Fu's chest with a flushed face, and her pair of jade-like hands gently hugged Zhao Fu's waist. Zhao Fu looked at Daisy's attributes. His gaze was as if he was naked. Although he didn't think much of it before, Daisy was now lying in Zhao Fu's embrace. Their skin was in close contact, and her body temperature naturally rose. Moreover, Daisy suddenly smelled a very attractive scent from Zhao Fu's body. Previously, the Flower Fairy's level 4 blessing had increased his charm towards women, and this effect had also come into play. Zhao Fu sensed the change in Daisy and was slightly stunned. "Your Highness!" Suddenly, a bewitching figure walked into the hall. When she saw the scene in front of her, her face turned red, and she immediately wanted to leave. "Lu Mei, what's the matter?" Zhao Fu saw that Lu Mei had come in as if something had happened, but she was about to turn and leave, so he called out to her. Seeing this intimate scene, Lu Mei's heart rate sped up, and her face became slightly red. She knew that she had ruined Zhao Fu's plans, so she immediately wanted to leave. However, she was stopped by Zhao Fu. Lu Mei could only apologetically smile as she said, "Your Highness, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you." Hearing Lu Mei's words, Daisy's face became even redder, as she couldn't help but tightly hug Zhao Fu's waist. Zhao Fu speechlessly looked at Lu Mei and said, "What's the matter? Hurry up and say it." Lu Mei hesitated for a moment, and only then did she realize that the person in Zhao Fu's embrace was Daisy. However, Daisy's appearance had greatly changed, and she was even more beautiful than before. "Could it be that Your Highness?" Lu Mei didn't dare to think too much about it. If Zhao Fu wanted her now, she wouldn't object. Not only was Zhao Fu the king, but Lu Mei didn't feel as disgusted as she did the first time. After spending so much time together, she started to have a good impression of Zhao Fu. As one of the 3 leaders of the bandit village, Lu Mei was quite familiar with the matters between men and women. She had always thought that men were creatures with the lower half of their bodies, but after the first time, her thinking had changed. "Lu Mei." Zhao Fu frowned and looked at Lu Mei, who was standing there thinking about something, and called out to her. Hearing Zhao Fu's voice, Lu Mei quickly came back to her senses and told him what she had just heard. "Your Highness, the Heaven Awakened World's 3rd event has begun." When Zhao Fu heard this, he felt quite surprised. He carried Daisy to a bed in a nearby room and had her rest while he went to the system main city to look at the event. After arriving at the system main city, the people on the streets all looked quite joyful, and there were all sorts of festive decorations on the streets. It was just as Lu Mei had said, the festival had arrived. What festival is it this time? It won't be as ferocious as the ghost festival last time, where no one dares to go out at night, and the system main cities become ghost cities, right? Zhao Fu looked around and found that many of the decorations were related to fish. Some had paintings of fish, some had fish lanterns, and some wore fish clothes. There were all sorts of fish, and Zhao Fu felt that this event was definitely related to fish. After receiving accurate information, Zhao Fu found that this festival was called the Divine Fish Festival. If the previous two events were organized by forces, which meant that they relied on the number of people, then this time, it was a solo event. The Divine Fish Festival was a fish harvest festival, and all sorts of divine fish would appear in the waters of the Heaven Awakened world. There were many types of divine fish, and they all represented different points. If one could catch one, it would be converted into points and recorded in one stats page. Points could not be traded or stolen, and once a divine fish was caught, they would be converted into points. This divine fish festival relied on one's own strength and luck, and it didn't matter how powerful one's faction was. Moreover, using large fishing tools, such as nets and all sorts of traps, was completely ineffective against divine fish. The only way to catch them was by using one's hands, harpoons, and fishing rods. It was almost impossible to catch them using any other methods. Divine fish were different from ordinary fish. Ordinary fish were just ordinary fish and didn't have anything special about them. However, divine fish gave off different lights, and there were runes flowing on their surfaces, making them look quite mystical. These divine fish weren't living creatures, and were instead created by the heavens and earth. The Divine Fish Festival would begin at 12 a.m. tonight and would last for 7 days. As the Divine Fish Festival began, all sorts of harpoons, fishing rods, and bait became incredibly popular. This Divine Fish Festival relied on one's own strength, so Zhao Fu wasn't in a hurry to prepare. He first went to the exchange stone steel and looked at what was available. After looking at the exchange stone steel, a look of shock appeared on Zhao Fu's face. The first 10,000 Flower Festival focused on equipment. The second Ghost Festival focused on professions. And this Divine Fish Festival focused on city creation stones. What was even more shocking was that there were 100,000 normal grade city creation stones, 10,000 blue grade, 1,000 silver grade, 100 gold grade, and 10 legendary grade city creation stones. Chapter 3:16. These 10 legendary grade villages all had different stats and different effects. They were only slightly weaker than Dynasty legatees, but their stats were quite powerful. The gold and silver grade villages all had special stats. It seemed that the system was giving those ordinary people without large families a chance. If they could grasp this opportunity, they would be able to make a comeback, and after developing, they would be able to rival the large families. However, if they couldn't grasp this opportunity, their chances of making a comeback would be very small. After all, this was the world of the large families, and ordinary people couldn't compare to them in any way. How could they surpass them? Even if there were some people, they were in the minority, and most people could only live in the shadows of the large families. Below were the 10 legendary Grade City Creation Stone stats. Heavenly Sword City, Grade, Legendary, Description. After using it, one will obtain the Heavenly Sword City's legacy. Apart from the basic professions, one will also obtain the swordsman profession. This profession is an advanced profession, and the highest grade it can reach is S grade. Universal Den, Grade, Legendary, Description, a special Denver. Any creature that conquers this den will spawn that creature. Battle King City, Grade, Legendary, Description, an ancient city with extremely powerful battle power. All of its stats are related to battle, and it can greatly increase soldiers' battle power. Thousand Life City, Grade, Legendary, Description, an ancient city with powerful battle power. All of its stats are related to battle power, and it can greatly increase soldiers' battle power. Great Black Iron City, Grade, Legendary, Description, an ancient city that mainly focuses on defense. Its walls have an iron barrier effect, greatly increasing defense, and it can obtain the Great Blackguard profession. 10,000-person city. Grade, legendary, description, a city that greatly attracts refugees. The population that spawns every day is twice that of a normal village, and it has special professions, high-grade people, and other stats related to the population. Beast Attendant City. Grade, legendary, description, an ancient city that breeds wild beasts. It has a beast attendant profession, and it controls the wild boar den, sheep den, and pheasant denver. Holy Disciple City. Grade, an ancient city established by believers and has a holy disciple profession. There is a godly statue within the ancient city, and it can receive the protection of a godly spirit. Divine Water City. Grade, legendary, description, a city that is located by the water. It can receive water blessings, and it can automatically learn swimming skills. It also has an advanced ability to construct ships, and it has resistance to storms. Wine Immortal City. Grade, legendary, description, an ancient city that specializes in brewing wine. It has 6 secret recipes for brewing wine, which can temporarily increase stats, and it has a wine hero profession. After looking at the 10 city creation stone stats, Zhao Fu found that the one that moved Zhao Fu the most was the second-ranked Universal Den. Zhao Fu had never thought that there would be a legendary grade Universal Den in this event. With this Universal Den, Zhao Fu would be able to spawn even more dragons in a shorter time, which would be of great help to Great Qin. As such, Zhao Fu had to obtain this Universal Den no matter what. However, Zhao Fu didn't have much confidence because he didn't have any of the advantages he had before, and he didn't have much to prepare. After all, he couldn't use large fishing nets or traps, and he could only rely on fishing rods and harpoons to catch fish. Zhao Fu felt that this event was going to be quite difficult, so he returned to Qin City to discuss with the others. Wei Liao thought for a moment before cupping his hands and saying, "Your Majesty, this event is going to be very difficult. This event mainly relies on individuals, but Great Qin has a lot of people, so we have an advantage. We can have all of the residents participate in this event and earn some points. Even though these points can't be gathered into a single event, they can still be used to exchange for some items that are useful to Great Qin." Wang Jian also said, "Your Majesty, this event is quite simple." General Wei Liao's words weren't wrong. There weren't any dangers to this event, so everyone could participate. Even the soldiers could participate. Now that there are so many battles going on, it's time to let the soldiers rest and raise their cultivations to stage 1. Everyone made their suggestions, and Zhao Fu, who was sitting at the top, thought for a moment. Indeed, the others could help and earn some points, which would allow them to exchange for some items, so he agreed. Now, it was about how to participate in the Divine Fish Festival. If one wanted to catch fish with their hands, they could only do it on the shore or in a stream. If one wanted to use a harpoon, they could also do it on the shore or in the water. Finally, they could use a fishing rod. Even though divine fish weren't true life forms, their habits and actions were similar to normal fish. Anyone who understood fish would be able to reap great rewards from this festival. Suddenly, Zhao Fu thought about the One World Rod that he had obtained before. It would come in handy now. The One World Rod was originally an exquisite legendary grade equipment, but after fusing with Celia, it became a half-epic grade equipment. Zhao Fu thought about it and took out the soul energy that he had just obtained. This soul energy contained a large amount of soul energy, and he could devour it to replenish his own soul energy or strengthen it. If there weren't any side effects, Zhao Fu would have already used it. Now, he could strengthen the One World Rod into an epic grade equipment. The One World Rod didn't give any stats, and it was a special piece of equipment, so it would be quite easy to strengthen it. After coming to an empty area in Qin Town, Zhao Fu fused his soul energy into the One World Rod. The One World Rod gave off a hazy green light and floated in the air, giving off an aura of life. "Master, I want to completely fuse with the World Tree branch and activate the ancient elf bloodline within my body." Celia's clear voice sounded out in Zhao Fu's mind. Just as Zhao Fu heard this, the one-world rod gave off a bright green light, and the image of a towering ancient tree slowly appeared in the sky. This tree was over 10,000 meters tall, and its trunk was so thick that even hundreds of people wouldn't be able to wrap their arms around it. Its lush canopy seemed to cover the entire sky, and as soon as it appeared, it gave off an aura that covered the heavens and the earth, and it also gave off a boundless aura of life. A beautiful girl, who had been lying down and seemed to be in deep sleep, slowly appeared in front of the tree and floated in the air. She was Celia. After Celia's figure appeared, she seemed to be resonating with the towering tree. The towering tree released a formless energy that covered Celia's body. Celia's body gave off waves of silver light, and a noble, powerful, and supreme aura gradually spread out. At that moment, all of the elves in Cheen Town seemed to sense something, and they all looked towards the ancient tree in the sky. Their bloodlines started to become restless, and they all gathered there. Chapter 3:17. Among the kneeling elves were Daisy and Asani, causing Zhao Fu to frown. Zhao Fu didn't like his subjects kneeling to others as well. At the same time, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. Elves were a prideful race, and they normally wouldn't kneel to anyone. However, they were all kneeling in front of Zhao Fu, causing Zhao Fu to feel quite displeased. Daisy, Zhao Fu coldly called out. Hearing this, Daisy quickly came back to her senses. She knew what her actions meant, and her face paled as she knelt to Zhao Fu and said, "Your Majesty, please forgive me." Seeing how scared Daisy was, Zhao Fu's tone softened as he asked, "What's going on?" Hearing that Zhao Fu's tone had changed and was no longer as cold as before, Daisy let out a sigh of relief and explained, "Your Majesty, that ancient tree is the elf ancient tree that we elves worship. That ancient tree is the elven ancient tree that we elves worship, and it's also called the World Tree. That girl also has the bloodline of our elven royal clan, and we instinctively felt the call of our bloodline and faith." After hearing Daisy's explanation, the trace of displeasure in Zhao Fu's heart disappeared as he said, "Get up. Your body is just fused with a bloodline, so it's a bit weak. It's best that you rest." Hearing Zhao Fu's words of concern, Daisy felt at ease and felt a warmth in her heart. She stood up and had the other elves stand up as well. Zhao Fu looked at Celia, who was floating in the air, and thought, "She also has the elf royal clan's bloodline? In other words, she's a descendant of a king. As mentioned before, a king's bloodline is passed down, so Celia is most likely a combination of a human and an elf." In the air, Celia gave off waves of silver light, and her noble aura became denser and denser as her royal bloodline awakened. Celia's appearance also gradually changed. Her facial features were slightly adjusted, and she became several times more beautiful than before. Her long hair became silver, and her ears became pointy. Celia slowly opened her eyes, which had also turned silver. Then, she automatically flew towards the ancient spirit tree. As soon as the two of them came into contact, an invisible ripple spread out, causing the weather to change. Silver clouds quickly gathered there. The one-world rod, which had been floating in the air, gave off a blinding green light with a hint of silver. As the ancient tree and Celia fused, the one-world rod's shape started to change, and it slowly turned into a wooden sword. This was a wooden sword with a silvery white blade. It was 3 feet long and 2 fingers thick. Where the hilt and blade met was a green leaf. This sword didn't emit any sharp or murderous aura. Instead, it was filled with endless vitality. As the wooden sword was formed, the ancient tree and Celia completely fused together before slowly disappearing. Rays of silver light descended from the sky, creating a spectacular scene. The wooden sword slowly descended from the sky. Zhao Fu caught it and checked its attributes. Royal wood sword. Grade. Epic stats. Strength plus 20. Intelligence plus 25. Constitution plus 30. Agility plus 20. Description. A wooden sword formed from the fusion of the World Tree's branch and the elf royal family soul. Zhao Fu held the royal wood sword in his hand and swung it around. The wooden sword was extremely sharp and easily sliced through the air. Moreover, there was an endless amount of life energy flowing out of the sword. Moreover, this royal wood sword also had a blessing called the Elf Royal Clan's Blessing. Anyone who wore this sword would receive the respect of all elves, and it would be easier to subdue elves. This sword's stats weren't bad, but wait. I wanted a fishing rod, so why did it suddenly turn into a wooden sword? Master, I have a way to deal with this. A silver-haired girl appeared next to Zhao Fu and smiled as she spoke. Zhao Fu looked at Celia, who had greatly changed, and smiled as he said, "Celia, you become much prettier." A trace of shyness appeared on Celia's face, and Zhao Fu asked, "How are you going to deal with this?" The royal wood sword is only in its second form, and its first form is still a fishing rod. If Master wants, I can change it back, Celia explained as she smiled. Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt much more at ease, and its Celia changed back. The one-world rod didn't look much different from before, but its stats had greatly increased. What Zhao Fu cared about the most was the second stat, which was the fish's blessing. Now, it increased the chances of catching fish by 800%, and it also had a very high chance of catching rare fish. Right now, Zhao Fu was mainly relying on this fishing rod. If the fishing rod performed well, he would be able to reap great rewards, but if it didn't, he wouldn't be able to participate in this event. Time gradually passed, and because the divine fish only appeared in water, there were no large rivers in the Forest of Horrors. There were only some small creeks and lakes, and Great Sheen's goal was to have people stand guard next to these creeks and lakes. The night gradually darkened, and soon it was 12 a.m. At that moment, the heavens and earth started to change as stars appeared in the sky, giving off resplendent starlight that filled the entire night sky, forming an ocean of stars. Ding-dong! A sound that sounded like a stone falling into water sounded throughout the entire world as a massive fish appeared in the sky and swam in the ocean of stars. It seemed to have a life of its own as it played in the water. This continued for 5 or 6 minutes before the massive fish turned into countless motes of light and descended from the sky, looking incredibly beautiful. As the motes of light fell into the water, fish began to appear, and there were runes flowing on their surfaces, making them look quite mystical. This was the beginning of the Divine Fish Festival, and there were many fish. Zhao Fu stood in front of a very large lake, and he didn't use a fishing rod yet. Instead, he held a harpoon in his hand. There were simply too many divine fish, and using a fishing rod to catch them one by one was a waste of time, so it was better to use the harpoon instead. Most of the fish in the water were carps and grass carps that were as big as a person's palm, and they gave off gray and white lights. There were also some crucian carps that gave off a faint blue light as they swam in the water. Zhao Fu looked at a fish and raised the harpoon in his hand, stabbing it into the water. These divine fish were faster than normal fish, but Zhao Fu wasn't weak at all. The harpoon stabbed into the water and pierced through a fish's body. The fish twisted its body, trying to break free, but Zhao Fu lifted the harpoon up. As soon as the fish came out of the water, it turned into countless motes of light and entered Zhao Fu's body. System announcement. Congratulations, you have caught a carp and obtained 10 divine fish points. Chapter 3:18. Zhao Fu once again stabbed out with his harpoon, piercing through the divine fish's body and lifting it out of the water. The fish immediately turned into countless motes of light and entered Zhao Fu's body. System announcement. Congratulations, you have obtained a grass carp. You have received 20 divine fish points. This divine fish only gave off a white light, and it was one of the most ordinary divine fish, so it didn't give many divine fish points. Zhao Fu's gaze then fell on a divine fish that gave off a blue light. Zhao Fu once again stabbed out with his harpoon. The blue divine fish was much faster than the gray and white divine fish, but this wasn't a problem for Zhao Fu. The harpoon accurately pierced into the divine fish's body. System announcement. Congratulations, you have obtained a crucian carp. You have received 50 divine fish points. There were many divine fish, but there were only these 3 types of divine fish. He hadn't seen any of the rare divine fish yet, but there were so many of them. Zhao Fu picked up 2 harpoons, one in each hand, and quickly stabbed the fish. He would occasionally miss, but he still had a lot of fish. It was a pity that the divine fish only lasted for an hour. After that hour, the number of divine fish gradually decreased, and Zhao Fu had to rely on himself to find more. During that hour, Zhao Fu had caught 126 divine fish and obtained 3,200 divine fish points, which could be used to exchange for some small items. However, it was far from enough to exchange for the 10 great legendary city creation stones. Zhao Fu looked around at the people searching for divine fish, and he decided to use his fishing rod to find a place with no one around. Divine fish were like normal fish, and it wouldn't be good to have too many people around. As such, Zhao Fu found a lake. This lake was the type that had been formed by a mountain, and it was connected to an underground river. There would most likely be many fish here. Zhao Fu found a rock and sat on it. He took out his fishing rod and hooked an earthworm on the hook. Even though Zhao Fu had never fished before, he still had some basic knowledge. After hooking up the earthworm, Zhao Fu placed the hook into the water. Then, he waited quietly. What surprised Zhao Fu was that the fish did not take the bait. Rather, his body had automatically started cultivating. His cultivation speed was 6 times faster than before. This wasn't because Zhao Fu's aptitude had increased, but rather because of special state that allowed Zhao Fu to cultivate so quickly. This made Zhao Fu feel quite surprised. Why did my cultivation speed suddenly increase so much? Zhao Fu started to look for the reason, and in the end, he found that it was because of the One World Rod. The third effect of the One World Rod, Fishing Dao Comprehension. This item is quite special and contains a type of source energy. When using it, it will make it easier to comprehend heaven and earth. This was actually an increase in cultivation speed. Now that he had earth-grade talent, coupled with the fishing rod's 6 times cultivation speed, Zhao Fu's cultivation speed could be said to be terrifying. Right now, there is absolutely no one who could cultivate faster than Zhao Fu. This caused Zhao Fu to be pleasantly surprised. Suddenly, Zhao Fu felt his fishing rod being pulled by a powerful force. A fish had most likely taken the bait. Zhao Fu raised the fishing rod and pulled up a lively divine fish. This fish gave off a silver light and looked like an azure carp. However, it was very small and was only as wide as 3 fingers. After Zhao Fu pulled the fish out of the water, it turned into countless motes of light and entered Zhao Fu's body. System announcement. Congratulations, you have caught a silver azure carp. You have obtained 100 divine fish points. Zhao Fu was quite happy to have such a great harvest from his first fishing rod. After the silver azure carp turned into countless motes of light, it gave Zhao Fu an item. It was a crystal pearl that was as big as a longan fruit and was quite transparent. There was nothing else special about it. Zhao Fu looked at it and found that it was called a fish jewel, and it could give all sorts of items. Zhao Fu felt quite curious and chose to open it. The fish jewel gave off a light and flew into the air. The fish jewel then turned into a few beast teeth, which were blue-grade materials. Zhao Fu was a bit disappointed by what he had obtained. It was only a blue-grade item, and Zhao Fu wasn't interested in it at all. However, after thinking about it, it made sense. If it was something good, it wouldn't have been so easy to obtain. The first fishing rod was quite good, and Zhao Fu put up the bait again before lightly placing the hook into the water. Soon, the fishing rod was once again pulled. A fish had evidently taken the bait, and the One World Rod stats were quite good. Zhao Fu raised the fishing rod and found that it was just a divine fish that gave off a blue light. Zhao Fu wasn't too surprised, and after the divine fish turned into countless motes of light and entered his body, Zhao Fu once again cast the hook. However, even though the fish took the bait very quickly, all 7 times he caught a divine fish that gave off a blue light. This made Zhao Fu understand that the lowest level of divine fish that the One World Rod could catch was a blue divine fish. Blue divine fish would also give a fish jewel, but not every one of them would give a fish jewel. Most of the items that he obtained were white grade. Zhao Fu once again cast the hook, and soon the fishing rod was once again pulled. Zhao Fu brought it up again, and it was another blue divine fish. Even though it was quite good that there were fish that took the bait, he couldn't keep catching blue divine fish, or else he wouldn't be able to get much. Normally, large fish were in deep water, and Zhao Fu was sitting on a rock on the shore, fishing for fish that were in shallow water. Zhao Fu thought about it and went in front of a large tree. The tree was 10 or so meters tall, and its trunk was 1 meter thick. Zhao Fu chopped down the tree with a single slash and took the thicker part of the tree. He then pushed it into the water to make a foothold. This method was quite simple and crude. Standing on the thick tree trunk, Zhao Fu floated to the center of the lake. The lake was quite big, and it was 2,000 meters wide. Following this, Zhao Fu started to fish at the center of the lake. His gains had indeed changed. Even though most of the blue divine fish were still blue divine fish, there were more silver divine fish. There would be a silver divine fish every 3 blue divine fish, making Zhao Fu feel at ease as he calmly fished at the center of the lake. Elsewhere, many people were using all sorts of methods to participate in this activity, and the scene was quite lively. There was a small creek outside of the system main city, and there were many people sitting there fishing. Some people stood by the side, holding harpoons, staring intently at the creek. Generally speaking, almost everyone knew how to use a tool, as it was simply too difficult to use one's hands. As such, no one would be stupid enough to use their hands. The various legatees all had their own methods. Great Xiaoxi Ji had killed a 300-year-old python and used its bones to make a python pole, which was quite useful for fishing. Great Shang's Di Wutian had destroyed an ancestral weapon and reforged it into a bronze harpoon, which was incredibly ferocious. Once it was stabbed out, no fish would be able to escape. What shocked everyone the most was Great Zhou's Jiangxia. He only used a normal fishing rod, and the hook was straight and didn't have any bait, but there were still many fish that took the bait. Chapter 319. Apart from these legatees, the ordinary people also had good gains. No one was born to be a king, and the targets of this event were not the legatees, but the ordinary people. Within a region, a fair-skinned and introverted young man stared at the scene in front of him, dumbfounded. This young man was called Yi, and his family was quite ordinary. Because he was quite introverted, he was often bullied, so he liked to hide in the heaven-awakened world, which was like an illusory world. When the Divine Fish Festival began, he was on a mountain, and when the big fish turned into motes of light and fell down, a small mountain beside him caved in, and a stone spear appeared. The front half of the stone spear was stabbed into the mountain, and it was quite thin and slightly thicker than a middle finger. Its surface had been meticulously polished, and it was extremely smooth. The stone spear gave off a strange light, and it seemed quite extraordinary. Yi looked at it in shock, but there was no one around. He felt that the stone spear was a treasure, so he climbed up the mountain and took it down. When he held the stone spear, he felt a wave of energy enter his body, and he felt many techniques appear in his mind, as if they were the stone spear's legacy power. Yi looked at it and found that it wasn't a piece of equipment, making him feel quite disappointed. Countless divine fish appeared in the creek, and Yi didn't know how to catch fish with his hands, so he decided to use the stone spear to stab the fish. After all, the stone spear wasn't very heavy. However, when he stabbed the stone spear into the water, a formless ripple spread out, and the divine fish within 5 meters of him were sent flying. They turned into motes of light and entered Yi Ye's body, causing him to stare at the scene in shock. Zhang Quansheng was a simple and honest-looking young man with tan skin. He lived by the sea in the real world, and his family had been fishermen for many generations. Zhang Quansheng had learned how to fish a long time ago, and he was quite familiar with fish. His fishing skills were quite amazing, and no fish had ever escaped from his hands before. After coming to the heaven-awakened world, he had never thought that he would appear by the sea again, and he would also be able to comprehend the skill imprisoning fish hand. Zhang Quansheng didn't have many plans for this event. He just wanted to obtain some good things and sell them to make up for his family's expenses. When the Divine Fish Festival began, Zhang Quansheng jumped into the water and his hands turned into a formless cage. As long as they were within 2 meters of his hands, not a single divine fish could escape. Once the divine fish was caught by Zhang Quansheng, it turned into countless motes of light that entered Zhang Quansheng's body, and his divine fish points rapidly increased. On a verdant patch of grass, a handsome man dressed in white sat cross-legged with a zither on his knees. A light breeze blew, causing the corners of his clothes to flutter. The stars in the sky perfectly fused with his figure, giving off an aura of being one with the world. This man was called Liu Yubai. He was 24 years old this year and was born blind. He was a musician, and in the real world, he mainly taught students how to play the zither. His days were rather tough, because most people who learn the piano now should only learn the piano. Who will learn the ancient zither? In addition, he can't see and doesn't know anything else. The only thing he knows is the zither skills that his father passed down to him. After coming to the heaven-awakened world, Liu Yubai still couldn't see, but his other senses had become much stronger. Liu Yubai wasn't very interested in this world, and the only thing that interested him was playing the zither. Liu Yubai didn't participate in either the 10,000 Flower Festival or the Ghost Festival, as he didn't want to participate in the struggles of this world. Every day, he would come to a secluded place to play the zither. Today was just like any other day. Liu Yubai came here and started to play the zither. Beautiful and gentle zither music sounded out, and in front of him, divine fish jumped out of the water, turned into motes of light, and entered Liu Yubai's body. Liu Yubai's originally lifeless eyes suddenly began to emit a faint light, revealing a hint of vitality. A quiet young girl lightly took off her kimono, revealing her pure and clean body, and jumped into the ocean. Masanori Hano was a young girl who had just turned 18 years old. No matter if it was in the real world or the heaven-awakened world, she was always by the ocean. Masanori Hano quite liked water, and she felt a sense of affinity with it. She had learned to swim since she was young, and she was a swimming champion at school. After coming to the heaven-awakened world, Masanori Hano also liked to swim in the water. Masanori Hano's family was quite well off, and her parents were both doctors. She didn't lack money, and she was a top-tier student in the real world. Masanori Hano treated the heaven-awakened world as an illusory world, and she felt that the real world was more important. She felt that coming to the heaven-awakened world was just for fun, and she had no intention of participating in the Divine Fish Festival. However, when she jumped into the ocean, countless divine fish swam around her, and she didn't know that her fate was silently changing. In Great India's region, a man with yellow and black skin jumped into the river. He held a wooden spear, and every time he used it, he would be able to pierce through 5 or 6 divine fish. The countless divine fish turned into motes of light and entered his body, and he ferociously continued to stab divine fish into the river. His name was Kabir, and he was quite famous in his hometown in the real world. He had been called a child prodigy since he was young, and he was extraordinarily strong. This sort of thing happened quite often. Not only did the large families have massive amounts of fate, but some ordinary people's fate wasn't weak either, and it started to awaken as well. Large families' fate came from their legacies, which were passed down from their ancestors. This fate was filled with an ancient and heavy feeling, and some ordinary people's fate was filled with vitality and powerful life force. As such, one shouldn't look down on ordinary people. In the future, some ordinary people could ascend to the throne and reign above the large families. It wasn't impossible for them to conquer the emperor's family. Of course, these ordinary people were in the minority, and there would only be 1 in 10 million ordinary people. However, they were destined to be extraordinary, and they were destined to become one of the most dazzling stars in the world. Back to Zhao Fu. Right now, Zhao Fu was sitting at the center of the lake, cultivating as he fished. His harvests were quite good, and he had caught 134 azure divine fish and 45 silver divine fish. It was just that he hadn't found a single rare divine fish yet. Zhao Fu switched to an earthworm that had been fed with spirit soil. This was incredibly precious, and each one cost 100 gold coins. Zhao Fu had only bought 5 of these earthworms. The rarer the bait, the rarer the fish, the rarer the fish. That was what Zhao Fu thought, because divine fish had the same habits as ordinary fish, and they ate the same things. Chapter 320. Are you kidding me? That's what I've caught. Zhao Fu felt quite speechless as he looked at the fish that was biting onto the bait and refusing to let go. This time, he had caught a turtle that was as big as a washbowl. It was slightly green, meaning that it was a green turtle. By now, Zhao Fu had already raised his fishing rod, but the green bastard turtle had bitten onto the bait and refused to let go, and it was dangling in the air as the fishing line swayed. Green turtle wasn't a divine fish. No, wait, it shouldn't even be a fish, so how had he caught such a thing? Zhao Fu couldn't understand. After looking at the Divine Fish Festival's description, Zhao Fu realized that during the Divine Fish Festival, other aquatic creatures were suppressed, meaning that they wouldn't appear. As such, during this period of time, most people would only be able to see and catch divine fish. However, this suppression was very weak, and many aquatic creatures would still appear. Zhao Fu's bait was very attractive to rare divine fish, and it was even more attractive to ordinary divine fish and aquatic creatures. Even if Zhao Fu used rare fish bait, not only would he not be able to catch any rare divine fish, but he would also not be able to catch any ordinary divine fish. Zhao Fu shook his fishing rod, wanting to shake off the green turtle, but the green turtle continued to bite onto the fishing line. As such, Zhao Fu could only pull back his fishing rod and flick the green turtle's head, causing it to faint. He then hooked up another rare earthworm and continued to fish. Soon, Zhao Fu felt another tug on his fishing rod. Something had taken the bait. This time, Zhao Fu started to feel quite uneasy, as he didn't know what would take the bait. Zhao Fu raised his fishing rod, and a divine fish appeared in front of him. However, it was just a white divine fish. Zhao Fu didn't believe that it would fail, so he hooked up another rare earthworm and once again put the bait into the water. Time gradually passed. At that moment, the fishing rod was tugged again. Something had taken the bait. Zhao Fu did not look forward to it this time. He lifted the fishing rod, and a goldfish appeared in front of him. This goldfish was like a small ornamental goldfish, but it was a bit bigger. Its body shone with a golden light, making it look rich. Notification: congratulations, you have caught a goldfish. You have received 300 divine fish points. Zhao Fu had finally caught a rare fish, but it was quite difficult to catch. The goldfish turned into countless motes of light and entered Zhao Fu's body, and it gave Zhao Fu a fish jewel. After opening it, Zhao Fu obtained a silver grade item. He continued to use the remaining 2 baits, but he still did not catch a single goldfish. Then, Zhao Fu did not care anymore. He simply continued to cultivate while fishing. After one night. Over the course of a night, Zhao Fu had caught 1,200 or so divine fish and earned 9,730 divine fish points. Over the course of the night, Zhao Fu had only caught 5 small goldfish. Zhao Fu felt that he would only be able to catch small goldfish here, and he would not be able to catch any more rare goldfish. After staying here for an entire night, Zhao Fu felt that he had had enough, so he returned to Qin City. He had obtained more than everyone else, but he was still far from obtaining the 10 legendary city creation stones. However, his cultivation had increased by quite a bit. Zhao Fu felt that there were some flaws in his method. First of all, he had to find a large body of water where there would be more divine fish, especially rare ones. Then there was the matter of bait. High-grade bait couldn't be bought even if one had money. He had to fix these 2 flaws, or else he would not be able to obtain the 10 legendary city creation stones. At that moment, Wu Binglin walked in and bowed as he said, "Your Majesty, this subordinate has something to report. This subordinate has something to report to your Majesty." Zhao Fu nodded and signaled for Wu Binglin to continue. Wu Binglin said, "Your Majesty, it's like this. We were in a region and heard that there was a massive lake where a divine fish with violet light appeared. As such, we came to report to your majesty." Oh, Zhao Fu was quite surprised that a violet divine fish had appeared. If he went there now, he would most likely have good harvests. Of the two problems that had been bothering Zhao Fu for a long time, one of them had been resolved. Next was bait. Normally, large fish were carnivorous, which meant that large fish ate small fish. How about he used the small fish as bait? When he thought of that, a look of delight appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and he ordered people to buy small fish. Soon, news came back that the small fish market only had low-grade fish, and there were no high-grade fish. As soon as they appeared, countless people would buy them, and many people had the same thoughts as Zhao Fu. AI. This caused Zhao Fu to sigh. What method should he use? The rarer the bait, the better. After thinking about it for a while, Zhao Fu made a decision. The God-Killer royal bloodline in his body was a level 11 bloodline, and it was an incredibly rare bloodline. If he used his blood to feed these small fish, they would become even more attractive to the larger fish. After making this decision, Zhao Fu had his subordinates continue to collect the small fish. He first brought over a small bucket of fish, but he only filled it with water so that it didn't go past the small fish. These small fish were only as wide as a finger, and they swam densely within the bucket. Zhao Fu stretched out his arm and used his dagger to cut open a wound, allowing his blood to drip into the bucket. The black blood-colored blood fell into the bucket and fused into the water, and countless small fish happily devoured it. Zhao Fu gripped the royal wood sword and sent a large amount of life force into the wound, causing it to quickly heal. Following this, Zhao Fu headed to the lake that Guo Binglin had told him about. This lake was called Autumn Lake, and it was incredibly large. It was at least 100 kilometers wide, and it was no wonder why violet divine fish and even rarer fish could be found here. When Zhao Fu arrived, there were already countless people fishing here. It seemed that this was a popular place for catching divine fish in this region. Zhao Fu didn't plan to fish on the shore, and this time, Zhao Fu had brought a small boat. He headed to the center of the lake, and there were many boats there. Zhao Fu even saw 10 or so 3-story tall boats sailing on the lake, looking quite grand and majestic. These were most likely the boats built by the various large factions in this region. Zhao Fu looked at them and didn't pay them much mind. He rowed his small boat and found a place where there weren't many people and started to fish. This time, Zhao Fu used the small fish that had devoured his blood, and he didn't know what the effects would be. Zhao Fu hung a small fish on the hook and placed the hook into the water. In just a few seconds, soon, Zhao Fu felt a powerful pull on the fishing rod, and a fish took the bait so quickly. Zhao Fu was quite surprised, and he quickly raised the fishing rod as a silver fish appeared in front of him. Chapter 321. Zhao Fu had never thought that a golden divine fish would take the bait so quickly. He continued to fish, and soon, a few more silver divine fish and a golden divine fish took the bait. Even though Zhao Fu's position was quite remote, many people still saw him. They saw a mysterious cloaked figure sitting on a small boat, using a fishing rod made of tree branches to continuously catch silver and golden divine fish. This scene was quite miraculous. This made the people fishing nearby excited. It was already quite good for them to catch a divine fish. How could they be like Zhao Fu and catch silver and golden divine fish? Many people thought that there were many divine fish near Zhao Fu, so they all started to swim towards Zhao Fu. Soon, there were more and more boats around Zhao Fu. After coming here to fish, they had made great gains. Even though they did not catch any rare fish, ordinary fish often took the bait, making countless people feel quite happy. These ordinary divine fish were all attracted by Zhao Fu's bait, and these people were taking advantage of Zhao Fu. At first, Zhao Fu didn't mind, as it wasn't a big deal for them to take advantage of him. However, as more and more boats arrived, it became more and more noisy, which started to affect Zhao Fu's fishing. The number of golden divine fish taking the bait became less and less, and in the end, he even caught a blue divine fish. Zhao Fu could only use his king's power to move the boat in another direction. To others, it looked like there was a black aura around the boat, causing it to move on its own. This made everyone feel quite shocked, as they had never thought that the cloaked figure would be an expert. However, they understood that they couldn't afford to offend someone like Zhao Fu. After all, they also had divine fish to catch, so they minded their own business. However, as Zhao Fu left, the number of divine fish they caught became less and less. In the end, they couldn't catch any more, and many people started to leave. At that moment, many sharp-eyed people saw that Zhao Fu was fishing up silver and gold divine fish on the other side of the lake, so they moved their boats over as well. Soon, more and more divine fish were fished up. Very soon, many boats had gathered here, causing Zhao Fu to frown because this group of people was once again affecting his fishing. Zhao Fu could only continue to steer the boat towards a more remote region of water. After Zhao Fu left, the number of divine fish that these people caught decreased once again. Many smart people understood what was going on and drove their boats to follow Zhao Fu. This made Zhao Fu a little angry. If they didn't interfere with his fishing, it wouldn't be a problem to let them take advantage of him. But they're already interfering with his fishing. If you continue to follow me, I'll kill all of you. An immense aura erupted forth, causing the surroundings to instantly fall silent. That ice-cold voice caused countless people to break out in cold sweat. Under such a powerful aura, he still had the guts to shout, "Why should I? This lake doesn't belong to you. We can go wherever we want. Why do you care?" Zhao Fu didn't waste any more words, and a sword light shot out, splitting the person and the boat he was on in half. A bloody stench spread out, causing the people behind Zhao Fu to feel quite shocked. At that moment, Zhao Fu continued to steer the boat away. Now, these people didn't dare to follow him, and Zhao Fu's fishing went back to normal. Every 2 silver divine fish, a golden divine fish would be caught. This was many times more than what he had caught last night. However, before Zhao Fu could feel happy, a few boats sailed toward Zhao Fu. Those people told these large families about what was strange about Zhao Fu, and after hearing about this, they also started to move their boats over. On the ship that had arrived first, a ferocious-looking big man stood at the bow of the ship. Seeing Zhao Fu fishing up silver and gold divine fish, he felt quite surprised and said in a friendly tone, "Brother, don't worry. I'll be waiting for you. Tell the Azure Tiger gang your secret to catching the golden divine fish, and we'll definitely treat you well in the future." Zhao Fu said in a low voice. 5 million? How could Zhao Fu be interested in that? No matter how much money it was, Zhao Fu wouldn't care. Zhao Fu couldn't be bothered to pay attention to these people and continued to fish. Seeing that his words had been ignored, the big man felt quite angry. His attitude had been quite good, and he had been planning to be polite before using force. However, this person didn't give him any face at all. In this region, no one dared to treat him like this, and the big man's face immediately darkened. "Ha!" Another boat sailed over, and standing at the bow was a muscular middle-aged man with a bit of a beard, and he loudly laughed. "You want such a secret for 5 million? What a joke. Brother, I'll pay you 50 million for your secret of catching rare fish." The middle-aged man laughed with a hint of pride. Hearing this, the ferocious-looking big man became even angrier, and just as he was about to say something, another boat sailed over. Standing at the bow was a beautiful middle-aged woman with a cold aura. "Friend, the Zhao family is willing to pay the same price for your secret." This caused the ferocious-looking big man's expression to become even more unsightly. "How lively! Thinking that all of you are here, it's going to be interesting. The Zhu family is also going to participate." Another boat sailed over, and standing at the bow was a man who spoke in a frivolous tone. The 4 ships all gave off powerful auras as they fought against each other. None of them were weak, but Zhao Fu, who was the main character, completely ignored everyone else. Suddenly, a massive force came from the fishing rod as something bit onto the bait and pulled the line taut. Zhao Fu felt that a large fish had taken the bait, and it was incredibly strong. It was still struggling in the water, causing splashes as it tried to drag Zhao Fu away. If it was a normal fishing rod or line, it would have long since snapped. Zhao Fu tightly gripped the fishing rod with both hands and started to vigorously lift it up. A large fish appeared on the surface of the water. It looked like a silver fish, but it was 1 meter long and 15 centimeters wide, and its body gave off a faint violet light. The appearance of this violet divine fish shocked everyone present. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be able to catch a violet divine fish. The violet divine fish was lifted out of the water by Zhao Fu, and it turned into countless motes of violet light that entered Zhao Fu's body. Moreover, a fish jewel appeared in Zhao Fu's hand. Upgrade. Congratulations, you have caught a violet divine fish. You have received 800 divine fish points. At that moment, everyone realized that someone who could catch a violet divine fish would definitely have a great harvest from the Divine Fish Festival. The well-built middle-aged man immediately yelled, "Friend, I'll pay 100 million divine fish points for your secret. I'll pay 100 million for your secret, and I sincerely invite you to join our Gene family." The ferocious-looking big man also yelled, "Brother, our Azure Tiger Gang also sincerely invites you to join us." The cold-looking woman's expression changed, and she yelled, "Friend, as long as you join the Zhao family, we will satisfy all of your conditions." Chapter 3:22. However, from start to finish, Zhao Fu completely ignored them and continued to hook a small fish into the water. This attitude caused the 4 factions to feel quite displeased, and they all frowned. In this region, there wasn't a single person who dared to treat them like this. This person simply didn't put them in his eyes at all. At that moment, one of the Azure Tiger Gang's sharp-eyed people sensed that something was off. Even though the fishing rod in Zhao Fu's hand looked like a normal tree branch, it gave off a faint light when fishing up the divine fish. It was evidently not an ordinary tree branch. Moreover, the bait he was using seemed to be ordinary fish, but the fish's eyes gave off a black blood-red light. This person from the Azure Tiger Gang immediately told the ferocious-looking big man what he had discovered. After hearing this, the ferocious-looking big man realized that the reason why Zhao Fu was able to fish up such a rare divine fish was because of these 2 items, and it wasn't because of some special technique or skill. Since Zhao Fu didn't give them any face, the ferocious-looking big man wouldn't show any mercy. His expression became savage as he gave the order, and tens of people holding bows and arrows walked out. This action caused the other 3 factions to feel quite startled, but they understood what the Azure Tiger Gang was going to do. They became wary and moved their boats further away to prevent the Azure Tiger Gang from attacking them. At the same time, they didn't move too far away because they weren't afraid of the Azure Tiger Gang. They wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to gain some benefits. They had heard that this person was an expert, but facing a large boat with hundreds of experts, their chances of winning weren't very high. Swish, swish, swish. Under the ferocious-looking big man's orders, countless arrows tore through the air and shot toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu didn't move at all, and he continued to sit on the boat with his fishing rod in hand. Just as the arrows were about to hit Zhao Fu, the ferocious-looking big man's eyes lit up. Seeing this, the other 3 factions felt quite surprised. Could it be that Zhao Fu would be dealt with so easily? A black semicircle barrier spread out, deflecting the countless arrows that were shooting at it. "Why are you forcing me to kill you?" A cold voice rang out, causing the hearts of the crowd to turn cold. At this moment, Zhao Fu moved. His silhouette vanished and reappeared on the Azure Tiger Gang's ship. The sudden appearance of Zhao Fu startled everyone in the Azure Tiger Gang. Zhao Fu held the silver-white royal wood sword as he scanned the Azure Tiger Gang members. The one with the highest cultivation was the fierce-looking man, who was at stage 1 to 4, while the others were only at stage 6 to 7. Kill. Seeing Zhao Fu appear on their ship with killing intent, the ferocious-looking man understood that there was no turning back. He took out a large saber and roared as he led the others to charge at Zhao Fu. Very soon, the big man brought his people and rushed in front of Zhao Fu. Seeing Zhao Fu standing there as if he did not place him in his eyes, the big man became furious and released all of his resentment. He raised his large saber and slashed at Zhao Fu. Fu! Zhao Fu stretched out his hand, and the silver-white sword stabbed into the big man's chest. The big man looked quite confused, and before he could understand what was going on, he saw his body instantly age. Wrinkles appeared on his face, and his hair became white. The royal wood sword could not only give boundless life force, but it could also take away other creatures' life force. Zhao Fu pulled out the sword, and the big man turned into an old man and fell to the ground dead. Everyone present, including the people from the other 3 clans, as well as the onlookers, had no idea what had happened. Everything had ended too quickly and simply. The ferocious-looking man had charged up and been casually killed by Zhao Fu. The difference in strength was too great, and the ferocious-looking man was unable to retaliate at all. As everyone stared in shock, Zhao Fu started a massacre on the ship. Zhao Fu was dressed in a black cloak, and as he walked forward, his clothes fluttering in the wind. He casually sent out sword lights, dismembering people's corpses. None of them were able to resist at all, and everyone seemed incredibly weak. In just a few moments, there was not a single person left alive on the ship. Everything was covered in broken corpses, and there was a bloody stench everywhere. Everyone was given a big fright, and they immediately left this region. After all, the Azure Tiger Gang was a top-tier faction in their region, and the gang leader had at least stage 1 cultivation. The 300 people on the ship were all experts from the Azure Tiger Gang, but facing this cloaked figure, they were unable to retaliate at all. They understood that to the black-cloaked figure, they were no different than ants. The other 3 factions did not dare to say anything, and they nervously and carefully left this region. The Azure Tiger Gang, which had been evenly matched with them, had been slaughtered in the blink of an eye. How could they dare to stay here? Immediately, they understood why Zhao Fu had ignored them. It was because Zhao Fu's status was too high, and he disdained to pay attention to weaklings like them. The funny thing was that they were still acting like clowns. There really is always someone better than you out there. I didn't expect such a powerful figure to appear all of a sudden. The Azure Tiger Gang was basically destroyed. The gang leader had died, and the hundreds of experts that they had nurtured had also been killed. Even though they still had some strength left, it was not enough to stop other factions from spying on them. At the same time, their enemies would not let go of this opportunity. Zhao Fu returned to his boat and continued to fish. Even though he had killed so many people, he was not affected at all. Not a single ship dared to get close, and Zhao Fu wanted peace and quiet. Silver and golden divine fish were continuously fished up by Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu's divine fish points increased. At that moment, a massive force came from Zhao Fu's fishing rod, and the fishing line became taut. Zhao Fu smiled. Another big fish had taken a bait. Zhao Fu raised his fishing rod and saw that it was indeed a violet divine fish. After lifting the divine fish out of the water, it turned into countless motes of light and entered Zhao Fu's body, giving Zhao Fu a fish jewel. After opening a fish jewel from a violet divine fish, one could obtain a gold-grade item. Zhao Fu already had 2 fish jewels, but he did not open them yet. Zhao Fu spent all of his time here, and it was late at night before Zhao Fu left. His gains were quite good. He had fished up 2,890 fish, and he had obtained 66,800 divine fish points in total. This time, he had fished up 15 violet divine fish, and when Zhao Fu fished up 10 violet divine fish, he received a system announcement telling him that it had obtained an advanced fish farming manual. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised that he had been able to obtain such an item. This manual recorded all kinds of fish farming, and not just ordinary fish could be farmed, but also spiritual fish. However, there was a limit. It could only be farmed for spiritual fish below stage 2. Chapter 323. How is this possible? Zhao Fu never would have thought that the Heavenly Sword City, which was ranked first in the 10 Great City Creation Stones, would be taken away. It had only been a day, and Zhao Fu had never thought that it would happen so quickly. In the last two events, Zhao Fu had obtained first place, but whether it was the 10,000 Flower Festival or the Ghost Festival, Zhao Fu had spent 2 or 3 days to obtain the first-ranked item. However, this time, someone had only spent a single day to obtain the first-ranked item, which was many times faster than him. Before, Zhao Fu had thought that he might be able to obtain the first-ranked item, but now, it seemed that this was quite unlikely. He had overestimated himself and looked down on others. "AI." Zhao Fu heavily sighed. He had suffered a heavy blow as he asked, "What should we do now?" After thinking about it, Zhao Fu didn't have any good ideas. This was too unexpected, and the second-ranked Universal Den was in danger. His chances of obtaining the Universal Den were quite slim. "Your Majesty." At that moment, an elderly man walked in and bowed to Zhao Fu as he called out. Zhao Fu had some impression of this old man. A few days ago, Zhao Fu had built a water god temple and placed a water god statue there. This old man was in charge of managing the water god temple. "What is it?" Zhao Fu's gaze fell on the old man as he asked in confusion. The old man immediately reported, "Lord Water God wishes to see your Majesty." After hearing the old man's words, Zhao Fu became even more confused. Why would a water god want to see him? After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to go and take a look. He arrived at the water god temple. It was as big as the city god temple, and it also had a main hall and a front hall. After the water god temple was completed, many people came to offer incense and pray. When Zhao Fu stepped into the main hall, the water god statue gave off a faint light, and an image appeared in front of Zhao Fu. This woman was wearing an ancient dress and had a pretty face. She gave off a water-like aura, and she was exactly the same as the water god statue. The water god had received a lot of faith and had a lot of Qin's fate, so she was much more powerful than before. "Daughter, greetings, your Majesty." After the water god appeared, she gave a gentle smile and bowed to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu nodded and asked, "Why have you called me here?" The water god chuckled and said, "Firstly, I would like to thank your Highness for taking me in. Also, I might be able to help your Highness with the things that are troubling you." Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and asked the water god in detail. Only then did he understand that the water god profession was related to all places with water, including aquatic animals. The water god could give him a blessing that could increase the chances of divine fish taking the bait. Because the water god was still quite weak, Zhao Fu had to bring the statue with him for the blessing to take effect. After hearing the water god's words, Zhao Fu did not hesitate. He took the water god statue and used the teleportation channel to head to the largest body of water that Qin could reach. Seeping River was the border of Qin's kingdom in the future. It was thousands of kilometers wide, and one could not see the end of it. Before, there had been countless fish monsters in Seeping River, and ordinary people did not dare to touch it. Because of the event, the fish monsters were temporarily suppressed. When Zhao Fu arrived, there were many people fishing on the shores of Seeping River. However, many people didn't dare to go into the water because those fish monsters had left too much of trauma on them. Moreover, the suppression from the fish monsters wasn't as strong, so it was still possible for them to be attacked. Right now, Zhao Fu could not care about such things. He took out the boat, and just as he was about to enter Seeping River, an elderly man saw him and tried to persuade Zhao Fu not to enter the water, as his life would be in danger. Zhao Fu thanked the elderly man, but there was nothing he could do. If he did not take some risks, he would not have any hope of obtaining the Universal Den. Zhao Fu sent his king's power into the boat, causing it to quickly travel on the river. There was no wind on the river, and there were not many ripples. After traveling for a while, Zhao Fu arrived at the center of the river. At that moment, Zhao Fu took out the water god statue. After taking it out, it gave off a faint light that shined on the water. It seemed that the water god had started to give its blessing. Zhao Fu took out his fishing rod and bait and started to fish. He quickly put the bait into the water, and Zhao Fu started to wait impatiently. Suddenly, the fishing rod was violently pulled, and Zhao Fu tightly gripped the fishing rod as he slowly lifted it up. As Zhao Fu lifted the fishing rod, the divine fish vigorously struggled, causing water to splash around. In the end, the divine fish was revealed. It was a violet divine fish. However, this violet divine fish was different from the ones from before. This violet divine fish looked like a catfish, and it was as big as the violet divine fish from before. It was incredibly powerful. The first fishing rod had a violet divine fish, which was quite good. It was most likely the effects of the water god's blessing. Zhao Fu once again cast the fishing rod. Soon, the fishing rod was once again pulled, and this time, Zhao Fu lifted it up. This fish was not very heavy, as it was only a golden divine fish. Zhao Fu once again cast the fishing rod, and he caught another violet divine fish, making Zhao Fu feel quite delighted. Now, Zhao Fu's harvest was basically a golden divine fish, followed by a violet divine fish, and after 3 golden divine fish, he would have 4 violet divine fish. This harvest was quite shocking, and it was even faster than when he had been fishing at the lake. Zhao Fu had also obtained many fish jewels, but they were not 100% guaranteed and required a bit of luck. Zhao Fu once again cast the bait into the water, and after a while, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. After 5 minutes, there was still no fish biting. Normally, Zhao Fu would catch fish as soon as he cast the fishing rod. Why is it taking so long? Zhao Fu raised the fishing rod and found that most of the bait had been eaten. Zhao Fu was quite surprised, as the bite marks on the bait were most likely caused by a very small fish. This time, Zhao Fu used an especially small fish as bait, and less than half a minute later, the fishing rod was gently pulled. When Zhao Fu raised the fishing rod, he found that a small fish had taken the bait. The small fish was about the size of a finger and looked like a crucian carp, but it gave off an orange light. It was an orange divine fish. After the orange divine fish was taken out of the water, it turned into countless motes of orange light and entered Zhao Fu's body. System announcement. Congratulations, you have caught a spirit crucian carp. You have received 1,500 divine fish points. After catching an orange divine fish, Zhao Fu was delighted. However, this orange divine fish did not give Zhao Fu a fish jewel, and Zhao Fu continued to cast the bait. Time quickly passed, and soon it was the second night. Zhao Fu had stayed there for an entire day, doing nothing but fishing. Chapter 3:24. Zhao Fu was so angry that he wanted to curse out loud. The only thing that could make Zhao Fu feel like this was that the Universal Den had been claimed. Zhao Fu once again felt like he had taken a heavy blow. Zhao Fu didn't even want the first-ranked city creation stone, only the Universal Denver. After all, the Universal Den was incredibly important to Qin, and if the wyverns hatched and the wyverns conquered it, Qin would have a squadron of wyverns. Now all of these thoughts have been shattered. The reason why Zhao Fu was in such a rush was because of the Universal Den. Zhao Fu stayed at Seeping River for an entire day, and he had caught 4,797 divine fish in total, earning 180,000 or so divine fish points. Adding on his previous gains, he now had 250,000 or so divine fish points. Before, Zhao Fu had held onto a trace of hope that with the water god's help, he would be able to obtain the Universal Denver. After all, he already had 250,000 divine fish points, and he was only 50,000 away from the Universal Denver. However, he had never thought that he would receive such news, and he couldn't take it anymore. It seemed that he wasn't fated to participate in this event, and he hadn't even obtained the Universal Den, which Qin needed the most. This made Zhao Fu feel quite dispirited. On a lush green hillside, a peaceful young woman lay on the grass, happily smiling as she tossed a mud-like object into the sky. This was the Universal Den, and this young woman was Masanori Hanno. Masanori Hanno held the Universal Den in her hands. She had never thought that she would be able to obtain the second-ranked item on the event rankings. Normally, the items on the rankings were split among the legatees, and no minor figure had ever obtained one before. This item was something that many people wanted. Masanori Hano also knew that if she sold this item, she would be able to earn a fortune that she wouldn't be able to spend in 10 lifetimes. However, Masanori Hano didn't want to sell it, as she didn't lack money. In actuality, she didn't want to exchange it for the Universal Den, but she just happened to have enough divine fish points, so she bought it. She didn't know much about the 10 Great City Creation Stones and the various legacy profession stats, so she didn't really care. She just felt that the higher the ranking, the better it would be. If Zhao Fu knew about this, he would be depressed. If Masanori Hano had randomly picked the 3rd or 4th rank, he would have been able to obtain the Universal Denver. However, this was how things were, and they could not be controlled. After all, this event had been prepared for ordinary people, and the karmic luck was biased towards them. Therefore, even though Zhao Fu had a legendary fishing rod, extremely rare bait, and the help of the water god, he still did not get what he wanted in the end. He really could not beat these people who seemed to be using cheats. Suddenly, Masanori Hano thought of something and took out a small statue that was about as tall as her palm. This statue seemed to be made of stone and jade, and it was black. It depicted an incredibly handsome man wearing ancient clothes that revealed his muscular chest. There was a katana around his waist, and there were 2 black horns on his head. The statue was incredibly lifelike, as if it had a life of its own. It gave off a devilish aura, and if a Japanese person saw this statue, they would definitely recognize it. This was Shuten Duji, one of Japan's 3 great monsters. Masanori Hano had found this statue in a ruined temple, and she felt that it was quite good, so she had kept it with her. At that moment, the statue gave off a faint green light, as if it had come to life. Its eyes were filled with evil, and it looked at Masanori Hano, causing her heart to tremble. Following this, the statue gave off a formless energy and broke free from Masanori Hano's hand, and it floated in the air. The universal lair was also pulled over by an invisible force. In midair, the statue and the universal lair actually began to slowly fuse together. The sky immediately darkened as black clouds gathered, and a massive wind started to blow, causing countless rocks and grass to be blown into the air. The statue gave off a bright green light, and the universal den gave off a bright violet light as they slowly fused together. Boom, 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 boom. Bolts of lightning descended as a green Rubik's Cube floated in the air, giving off a terrifying green light. A massive wave of devil chi spread out, causing the air to become many times denser. The scene was quite terrifying. Suddenly, a drop of green blood flowed out of the green cube. This drop of blood was filled with an evil and demonic aura, and it fell between Masanori Hano's eyebrows. Immediately, this drop of green blood entered Masanori Hano's body, and it was as if a massive wave of energy had entered her body. Masanori Hano's body trembled, and her body gave off a bright green light. Within the green light, Masanori Hano went through massive changes. Her decent-looking face became incredibly beautiful, and her calm aura became even more enchanting, giving off an aura that could mesmerize all living things. Japan's #1 enchantress had officially appeared. After obtaining the devil bloodline, Masanori Hano had a half-devil body, and her strength had increased by many times. The green cube in the sky slowly landed in Masanori Hano's hand and turned into a special city creation stone, and she seemed to become a completely different person. Devil City's Stone, a special city creation stone that is legendary grade. The people that spawn have some devil bloodlines. A white-clothed man with a zither on his back came to a quiet bamboo forest. He was Liu Yubai, the owner of the Heavenly Sword City. Liu Yubai's eyes were incredibly deep, and he could already see everything around him. His vision was even clearer than a normal person's eyes. On the night of the Divine Fish Festival, Liu Yubai's eyes had miraculously recovered. However, This didn't change Liu Yubai's mental state much. It was as if he had always been able to see, and he calmly accepted that he had regained his sight. The sound of his zither was simply too beautiful, and it was like celestial music that lingered for a long time. At that moment, countless divine fish leapt out of the water and turned into countless motes of light as they surged towards him. The scene was quite shocking. The area within dozens of meters around Liu Yubai was covered by motes of light, and Liu Yubai continued to play his zither. His mental state and willpower were terrifyingly deep. Suddenly, the sound of a zither sounded out from the sky. This zither sound was incredibly beautiful, and it sounded quite ancient. In actuality, no one else could hear this zither sound, and only Liu Yubai could hear it. When he heard this zither sound, Liu Yubai's movements paused as if he had received some sort of legacy. He started to understand everything, and he understood the terrifying consequences of the real world being devoured by the heaven-awakened world. Liu Yubai didn't want to participate in any of this, but he was in the middle of a disaster and couldn't avoid it. As such, he decided to provide a place for those who love the zither. Chapter 325. Liu Yubai seemed to have obtained some sort of swordsman legacy, and his body started to give off traces of sword chi, making it so that no one dared to get close to him or they would be cut by the sword chi. At the same time, his aura became more and more powerful, making him seem like a sharp sword. Your Majesty, the third-ranked Battle King City has also been claimed. At this moment, a soldier walked into the hall and respectfully reported. This news caused the dispirited Zhao Fu's expression to change. Since the Universal Den had been claimed by someone else, there had to be a way to replace it. Qin shouldn't be depressed over something like this. Qin's path to restoration wouldn't be simple, and he would face even greater difficulties in the future. Zhao Fu deeply breathed in and calmed himself down. He still needed 10,000 divine fish points to exchange for the third-ranked War King City, but he could still exchange for the fourth-ranked Thousand Life City. As a legendary grade city, Thousand Life City's stats definitely wouldn't be weak, and it would be quite good to exchange for it. Now that the third-ranked city had disappeared, Qin had to obtain the fourth-ranked city. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to head to his system main city. Without any hesitation, Zhao Fu went to the exchange stone steel and saw that the fourth-ranked Thousand Life City was still there. However, Zhao Fu decided not to exchange for it. This was because he saw an item, City Upgrade Stone. Use this City Upgrade Stone to upgrade a gold grade village to legendary grade. Price: 400,000 divine fish points. With this City Upgrade Stone, Zhao Fu would be able to upgrade his Universal Den to legendary grade. Right now, Zhao Fu's Universal Den was silver grade, and if Zhao Fu gathered 10 damaged city hearts, he would be able to upgrade it to gold grade. If he used this City Upgrade Stone, he would be able to upgrade it to legendary grade. Between Thousand Life City and a legendary grade den, Zhao Fu didn't hesitate to choose the Universal Denver. After all, the Universal Den was simply too important to Qin, and Thousand Life City was a bit weaker. However, this City Upgrade Stone was a bit expensive. It was 50,000 divine fish points more expensive than the top-ranked City Upgrade Stone, and there was only one. Without wasting any more time, Zhao Fu immediately headed to Seeping River. If he didn't hurry, not only would he fail to obtain this upgrade stone, but Thousand Life City would also be claimed by someone else. At that time, Zhao Fu might not be able to obtain anything at all. At the same time, Zhao Fu borrowed Bai Chi's fishing rod. Bai Chi's fishing rod was made from 500-year-old white willow wood and was gold grade, so it was quite good for fishing. A person could only have 2 fishing rods, as the fishing rod had to be held with both hands for it to be yours. Otherwise, if you just left the fishing rod there, it would be like a trap that wouldn't work on a divine fish, and you wouldn't be able to obtain any divine fish. Zhao Fu came to Seeping River and held a fishing rod in each hand. He felt quite anxious as he waited for the divine fish to bite, and he was no longer in the mood to cultivate. In order to save time, Zhao Fu had Celia come out to help him put up the bait. It could be seen just how anxious Zhao Fu was. It wasn't just Zhao Fu. The other legatees didn't have much of a harvest this time, and it was the first time that they felt powerless. No matter what methods they used, they were unable to obtain any fish. After all, if even Zhao Fu was in such a state, how could they have any gains? 3 of the top 10 city creation stones had disappeared, and while Zhao Fu was worried, the others were also worried, and they used all sorts of methods to obtain divine fish. As for who would obtain Heavenly Sword City, the various legatees guessed that it would be Qin. After all, apart from Qin, no one else had obtained Heavenly Sword City so quickly. This was mainly because legatee Qin's fate was simply too terrifying, and the scene of the Chaos Imperial Star descending was still deeply engraved in their minds. In response, Zhao Fu felt quite wronged. He had been dealt a blow by so many people, and he wasn't satisfied with his gains either. On a mountain peak, an extremely handsome-looking young man wildly laughed as he said, "The Zhang family, the Li family, and the Qian family. Everything you've done to the Gu family will be repaid 100-fold in the future." This young man was called Gu Qingyang, and he was the owner of Battle King City. The Gu family that Gu Qingyang came from was a large financial group in the region, but it wasn't a large family. After all, the Gu family had relied on his father to get rich, and it had a good reputation in the region. It was a pity that the good days didn't last for long. Gu Qingyang's father had died in an accident, and the Gu family had lost its backbone. The Zhang family, the Li family, and the Qian family had immediately attacked the Gu family, and the Gu family had fallen into debt. Gu Qingyang had also lost his luxurious lifestyle, and the days of being a young master were gone forever. However, this made him more mature, and he could see the bloody reality. On the night of the Divine Fish Festival, he was someone with great fate. When a large fish turned into motes of light and fell to the ground, some of the motes of light entered Gu Qingyang's body and perfectly fused with him. Gu Qingyang felt as if there were a few fish swimming within his blood, and it was a very strange feeling. Following this, Gu Qingyang was shocked to find that his blood could attract countless divine fish, as if they were especially fond of his blood. As long as he dripped some of his blood into the stream, all of the divine fish within a few hundred meters would be attracted over. Gu Qingyang held his harpoon in delight and continuously killed these divine fish, and his divine fish points increased more and more. After 2 days, he finally had enough divine fish points to exchange for Battle King City. Gu Qingyang had never thought that he would have such a great opportunity, and he clearly understood how important this was to him. This was something that even the top-tier families would go crazy for, and now he had obtained it. If he gave it to the top-tier families, they would be able to easily destroy the Zhang family, the Li family, and the Qian family. However, Gu Qingyang wanted to obtain even greater benefits, so he didn't just look at what was right in front of him. This decision had changed his fate, and it had created a glorious life for him. In the future, he would ascend to the throne and become a king, and he would establish the Gu Fish Kingdom. Back at Zhao Fu's side, Zhao Fu raised a fishing rod in each hand and continuously caught divine fish. He left the task of changing the bait to Celia. Sensing Zhao Fu's mood, Celia quickly helped Zhao Fu put up the bait. She didn't dare to say anything in case she disturbed Zhao Fu. Another day passed. Zhao Fu's nerves were taut as he continuously fished up divine fish. His divine fish points quickly increased, and he finally had 400,000 divine fish points, causing Zhao Fu to let out a sigh of relief. At that moment, Zhao Fu fished up 10 orange divine fish and obtained the Spirit Fish Raising Manual. This manual mainly recorded methods for raising stage 5 spirit fish and below, and it would be of great help in the future. However, right now, Zhao Fu didn't care about anything else. He just wanted to exchange for a great upgrade stone. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.